Okay, the Clinton-Epstein connection. We're going to go all over that tonight. Okay, some big documents leaked. Plus, leftists are mocking Herman Cain in his death. Just a lot of disgusting behavior and a very terrible week for Jerry Nadler. It's going to be a great show tonight. I'm also going to be updating my election predictions. So yeah, we will begin shortly. Welcome to episode 15, week 15 of America Rising, the Vince Dow Show. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty well. It's going to be a great show. So yeah, don't go anywhere. We're going to start in 5 minutes, you guys.
Vince Dow, you're like the only Asian conservative commentator.
Hi, I'm Vince Dow, and I'm so conservative that I don't want anything to do with the left. In fact, I don't even turn left when I walk.
If we're spreading this conservative message and people like Vince Dow spread the message really well and the young people get access to this message, they're going to start doing more research and looking into these subjects.
I was following, the whole political sphere on Instagram, Vince Dow, Lance videos.
The more we have people like you should be able to counteract all the BS that they spreading in school today, man. So you guys are just as important, man. Don't ever think otherwise, man.
See so many like-minded, patriotic Americans come together and take a stand for some common sense and American principles. So give yourselves a hand.
You guys probably know this too. Our generation is totally off the rails. I mean, they've completely lost their minds. They're supporting the All Cops Are Bastards movement. They're out here defending. It's mainstream. It's actually a bad thing to be against the rioting and looting and destroying businesses and assaulting people in the streets. Why is it so important for us as conservative teenagers to actually stand up and fight back?
Well, right now, I feel like our voices are never going to be heard. Like, I post something on Instagram against the looting, and I get extreme backlash from people that have been my best friends since I was little. So I think it's important for all of us to know that we have support in each other, and if we do stand up to say what we believe in, that we're going to be supported and not trashed completely.
Vince Dow, you're like the only Asian conservative commentator.
Hi, I'm Vince Dow, and I'm so conservative that I don't want anything to do with the left. In fact, I don't even turn left when I walk.
If we're spreading this conservative message and people like Vince Dow spread the message really well and the young people get access to this message, they're going to start doing more research and looking into these subjects.
I was following, the whole political sphere on Instagram, Vince Dow, Lance videos.
BS that they spreading in school today, man. So you guys are just as important, man. Don't ever think otherwise, man.
All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Let me fix my hair. My hair's a little off. All right, you guys just have to deal with it. Okay, but anyways, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's episode of America Rising, the Vince Style Show. Hope you're doing well on this wonderful Friday night. In just a few minutes, we're going over the Clinton-Epstein connection. Some bombshell documents have leaked as a result of the great Mike Cernovich, and we're going over that in just a little bit. But first, I want to do something. I want to open with something tonight that's a pretty unorthodox for me because I'm a political commentator. It's more my job, I'm not an activist. I don't consider myself to be an activist. I'm more of a political commentator. It's my job to talk about the issues, analyze the issues, give you guys my thoughts. And that's what I normally do. But we are in very different times. It's craziness. Okay, so I'm going to open with something I don't usually do. And that's the direct case for a certain political candidate. And that case that I'm about to make is for President Trump. Now, the case I'm about to make is not for your ordinary conservative, because as I watch, the majority of people I assume watching this stream are, they're followers of me, so they support the president. I don't need to convince you guys as to why you support Trump, but this is a message I would suggest you guys take to your family members, your friends, specifically not to the liberals, okay? Because the hardcore liberals, the people that just straight up hate Trump and are just total lefties, you're never going to convince them. Don't try to convince them. Don't waste your time convincing them. But there are a lot of independents in this country and undecided voters that are genuinely undecided. They're not sure which way they're going to go. There's some aspects about Biden they like, some aspects. I'm delayed. Okay, if I'm delayed, I'll just turn on my quality. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay. All right, I'm just going to turn on my quality. That should fix it. Okay. Anyways, there are some people that are genuinely on the fence, and I've talked to a lot of these people. Okay, I've talked to a lot of undecided voters in this country. And I've reached sort of the same consensus out of all of this. And here it is. Okay. These are the people specifically that are unsure about who they're voting for in November. Okay. So they don't like the way Trump handled coronavirus. All right. And we can try to, I like I said, getting the vaccine done, that's going to help a lot. But okay, whatever. But what I do hear them say is that they agree Trump is good for the economy. That almost seems to be like a bipartisan issue. Like even the Democrats admit it. Trump is good for the economy. Okay. And they admit it. They're like, Trump is good for the economy. But the main thing turning them off from Trump is not, and by the way, the defund the police movement, the anti-police movement is very concerning to them, and it drives them more towards the Republican camp. But their main problem with Trump is his personality. Okay, they don't like his personality. And honestly, I love Trump's personality. Okay, I think it's hilarious and it's awesome, right? But they don't like it. And the question is, how do we make that appeal to these undecided voters? And it's this. You might not like Trump, okay? There are a lot of people who don't. I understand why you wouldn't like him. You wouldn't like his character or his leadership style or whatever. But at the end of the day, Mr. Undecided Voter, you can turn off the TV. You can turn off Twitter, and you never have to hear from Trump again. But the things you can't turn off, your 401k, your job, your salary, your taxes, you can't just drown those things out. Those are actually aspects that you have to live with during your life. So the bottom line is this. You may not like him. You don't have to like him. Okay, the politics is not about who you like or not like. It's about who is better for you. And the bottom line is this. If you are a working class American, you may not like him. You may hate his leadership style. You might not like his Twitter. But the bottom line is this. 4 years from now in 2024, your 401k will thank you. Your finances will thank you that you chose President Trump over Joe Biden. And that's the bottom line. That's the message I think we should take to regular voters. And actually, the Trump campaign ran an ad like this for a few weeks, and then they removed it, probably because Trump doesn't like it, because it sort of suggests that Trump himself is sort of a flawed person. But that's the bottom line. That's the message we have to take to these people, because the bottom line, people don't like, there's some people that don't like Trump, and trying to convince them that he's a good person, or that it's actually good the way he leads, it's not going to get through to them. Okay, it's, first of all, it's a waste of time, but secondly, they are dead set on what most people, when they meet someone and they see him a little bit for the first time, they are dead set on their impression of that person, and it doesn't change. And that's exactly the case with President Trump. Their impression of President Trump over the past 4 years has set in, it's locked in, and it's not changing. But what we can change is their ideas on things like this, the economy, right? Because here's the deal. A lot of people think, and I don't think it's true, but just go with it, okay? Just go with it. A lot of people seem to think that Joe Biden would handle coronavirus better than Trump, okay? And there's a lot of reasons why I think that's false, and I actually would like to debate someone that thinks that. But the bottom line is that's not the argument you want to get into, okay? The argument you want to get into is this. We're supposed to have a vaccine by the end of the year. I guess by like the end of the first economic quarter of next year, we'll have vaccinations and we'll have therapeutics to the extent where it's like the virus will start to subside, right? I mean, pandemics don't last. So it'll last by the end of next year for sure. We're probably going to be back to our normal lives, okay? I would guess that since we're getting a vaccine supposedly by the end of the year, when Joe Biden takes office, he's barely going to even have to deal with the coronavirus. It's only going to be a few months and then we'll all go back to normal, okay? And that's something to take into account. You know, when you're voting in November, tell this to your undecided voter, whether they're your parents, your friends, whatever. When you vote in November, take into account that even if you prefer Joe Biden on the issue of coronavirus, the coronavirus is not going to be here 2-3 years from now. You know, it's going to pass. It's going to pass. No matter what, it's going to pass. The bottom line is later down the road, your 401k and your taxes will. Joe Biden literally has said that he wants to raise taxes. I think he would be the first candidate in political history to win the presidency off of the open platform of raising taxes. But that's the case. Okay, that's the case you make. Your country, the trade deals, something everyone agrees on. You know, trade deals, lowering taxes. I forgot to put my banner here. That's my bad. Right here, I'll put it right here. Trade deals, lowering taxes, all those things that's sort of bipartisan issues for all of us. At the bottom line is this: you may not like Trump, you may hate his guts, but you will be in a significantly better country than if you vote for him than not. Or what about the issue of police, right? Because a lot of the independent, undecided voters, quiet as it is kept, most of these are like suburban people. They want to live in safe neighborhoods. Most people, except for the deranged people on the left, most people want to live in safe neighborhoods. Most people are terrified by this anti-cop, anti-police movement. We'll bring that up to them. You know, you may not like President Trump, but the bottom line is this: your kids will be safer in your neighborhood. You will be safer in your neighborhood if President Trump is president instead of Joe Biden. So it's not even just about your finances, really. I mean, consider yourself, consider your life. Joe Biden is not going to resist any of these defund the police stuff. In fact, he's openly called for defunding the police or rediverting funds, which is defunding the police. Again, you may hate his guts. You may hate his guts, but are you really going to vote against him? I'm talking to undecided independent voters right now. Are you really going to vote against him just because you hate a person, which you're entitled to? You're going to vote for more dangerous neighborhoods? You're going to vote for tax increases? You're going to vote for an economic recession? That's what you're going to vote for? So keep that in mind. That's the message I would take to. I'm sure a lot of you guys get in political arguments with anti-Trump people. Take that message to them. You may hate him, but you sure as hell can't afford to not vote for him. Anyways, let's do this. Clinton-Epstein connection exposed. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So I believe it was yesterday. Some bombshell. Bill Clinton. Okay. Last night, ladies and gentlemen, or I believe it was yesterday. I saw it last night. Some bombshell documents have dropped, and I'm going to read from the New York Post here, ladies and gentlemen. So I can't get any of these details wrong unless the New York Post gets it wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, Jeffrey Epstein hosted Bill Clinton on his private island. Documents reveal from the New York Post. Check this, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this man is brought to justice, okay? Because listen, we all knew this. We all knew this. Okay. Everyone knew that Clinton was involved in the Epstein stuff and went to his island, all that stuff, but a lot of liberals were in denial. Let's see if they're still going to keep denying it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is straight from the New York Post. Former President Bill Clinton was a guest at Jeffrey Epstein's private Caribbean island, according to testimony from an Epstein accuser, which was unsealed on Thursday. Virginia Giuffre, and I hope I'm saying that name correctly, who has also accused Epstein's alleged Madam Ghislaine Maxwell of abusing her, told lawyers in 2011 that Clinton visited Epstein's private island with Maxwell, herself, and two young girls from New York. So, according to this testimony, okay, and obviously, we never know, we're never going to know if it's true, but I hope we find evidence that this is true because I think there's very strong evidence. Bill Clinton, what are you doing, Bill? Bill Clinton was on Jeffrey Epstein. So according to this, was on Jeffrey Epstein's island with with Epstein and with Maxwell and two young girls, underage girls. But you mean to tell me, Bill, you don't think Bill Clinton was involved in any of this stuff? Let's keep going. She recalled being surprised to see the former president on the island. I remember asking Jeffrey what Bill Clinton's doing here kind of thing. And he laughed it off and said, well, he owes me a favor. Oh, I forgot to switch the screen. It says, well, he owes me a favor. Oh, what kind of favor is that, huh? Political favor? I'm not sure. Anyways, she said Clinton also traveled on Epstein's private plane and noted how other famous people, including Clinton's vice president Al Gore and models Naomi Campbell and Heidi Klum, were aboard at one point when she was. Just about anyone would fly on his plane. There was never any set routine who would come and go. It was an influx of people on Jeffrey's airplane, she said. There were also orgies held on Epstein's plane, she said. Frequently, she would be on the plane with Epstein and Maxwell when the sexual encounters occurred. Oh. But Bill Clinton was never involved in this stuff, huh? Bill Clinton was just hanging out at the island, just being innocent. With Bill Clinton's sexual record? Oh, I don't think so. The details revealed Thursday night were included in the docs from a 2015 civil defamation lawsuit against Maxwell by Jeffrey, ordered by a Manhattan judge last week. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, all right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. I'm gonna pull up. I have some more on these docs, but holy crap. If this is true, and by the way, this is not the only testimonies or evidence that Bill Clinton was a regular attendee at Epstein's island, okay? The flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein's private plane that were, found and revealed when Epstein was arrested showed that President Bill Clinton had gone to this island like several times, like countless times. He's like a regular guest there, okay? And you mean I don't see why they would just be totally made up. Okay, I'm pretty sure those flight logs are accurate. But why would Bill Clinton be a frequent attendee at Jeffrey Epstein's island? And a lot of the liberals like to say, well, Trump and Epstein were friends. And the argument I've always hear them make is just idiotic. Like there's no connection to be made. Okay, like I literally was in a debate today about this, and the liberals' best argument was, well, Trump lived in Palm Beach, or had, he was part-time resident in Palm Beach. Jeffrey Epstein also lived in Palm Beach, and they lived very close. They were basically neighbors, and that must have incriminated them. Oh, what the hell kind of evidence is that? Oh, and they both attended the same event once. What the hell kind of evidence is that? A lot of wealthy people live in Palm Beach. If you've never been there, it's a very nice place, okay? It's just where a lot of rich, famous people live. That's the worst evidence I've ever heard. So you mean to tell me that's more incriminating evidence that they lived close to each other and were in a few pictures together because, rich people go to the same gatherings a lot, than Bill Clinton being a regular attendee at Jeffrey Epstein's island and being alleged by this accuser to be frequently hanging around young girls. But if you ever needed the proof, Okay, you ever need the proof? Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump actually warned us about this island. This was back in 2015. Before he was running for president and before any of this stuff came out. Listen to this. Listen to this interview at CPAC in 2015 from President Trump.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends
well,
of
I can't say friends, but I know
You're friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play at my clubs.
Are you saying there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political problem.
That's one question.
So just so we're clear, I want to understand what the anti-Trump haters are saying. So Trump was in on it with Jeffrey Epstein, but Bill Clinton was not. And the Clintons were not. And all these other famous people were not, but Trump was in on it. So this is very confusing because Trump and Epstein had a pretty public fallout. Okay, Trump banned Epstein from the Mar-a-Lago over after hearing he allegedly tried to rape someone there. Okay, so he banned him from the Mar-a-Lago. They did not have a very good relationship, you know. Once it was clear, like, they started to get to know each other better, it's pretty clear, like, Trump and Epstein didn't like each other. Okay, the flight logs that I mentioned about, you know, going on his private plane to the island, the flight logs that I mentioned never once showed that Trump was going to Epstein's island. Okay, but what was Bill Clinton doing there? It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, here's some other takeaways from the Virginia. I don't even know how to say her name. The Virginia Giuffre deposition highlights. Anyways, so she was asked about Donald Trump in this case and was told. So Epstein told her that Trump was a good friend of his, but I mean, what does that mean? You know, it's like sometimes I exaggerate. You know, my own. Sorry about this, guys. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Hey, Matt, Sherman's calling you. I think he's here. I think he's here. He called you, okay? I'm just telling you he called you, so he's probably outside. I don't know. What? Okay. All right, sorry about that, guys. Anyways, so asked about Donald Trump. Okay, so what does that mean? You know, it's like famous people. If you're friends with a famous person, you're probably gonna name drop them. Say, hey, they're a good friend of mine. Like, I have a lot of people in my own business. I'm just using lingo. My own business is like I'm their friend, but they're more of just an acquaintance. Anyways, but here's the important part. Okay. So she saw Trump probably a few times, but once at Mar-a-Lago because her dad knew him. Okay, well, saw Trump around. Okay, but never saw Trump with any other minor girls. Here's what's important. Never saw him at Epstein's home island or New Mexico home or New York home. Never saw Trump with Epstein. Never saw him have sex with any minor. So there you go. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton was seen on the island with two young girls. And Epstein and Clinton stayed in Epstein's house where the trafficked trafficked girls, where sexual orgies were a regular occurrence. And she was told by Ghislaine Maxwell that she'd flown him to the island. Also accused Prince Andrew, of course. There's an obvious connection here. All right. Did I? No, I didn't. Okay. There's an obvious connection here, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I don't know how anyone in the world could. Also, there's a weird ass painting. I'm sure you guys have seen this. There's a weird ass painting of Bill Clinton found on Epstein's island. All I can say is I think Bill Clinton is not sleeping well tonight. You know, and obviously, these accusations alone are not enough to incriminate. But when you add up the evidence, you know, I think she's credible. But forget her for a second. When you add up the evidence, like Bill Clinton, the flight logs show that Bill Clinton had been to the island several times. It's not surprising for Bill Clinton. We've known that Bill Clinton is a sexual deviant, we'll just say, and he has a lot of rape allegations outside of this Epstein stuff. So it's not behaviorally surprising that Bill Clinton would be here. Then you have the flight logs. Then you have the accusations. It all adds up. Okay? So I think it's safe to say that there is strong evidence that there is a Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein connection, and it is directly within the sex trafficking circle, the island. Okay? And President Trump warned us in 2015 at CPAC, in 2015, warned us about Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, and Prince Andrew. Interesting. Let me know your thoughts right now in the chat right now. But these documents, which by the way were released by Cernovich, Mike Cernovich, go follow him on Twitter, are a bombshell. Okay, let me know what you guys think right now. Yeah, exactly. And to think we almost had Hillary as president. Whew. It's crazy, huh? Do you guys think there's a Bill Clinton Jeffrey Epstein connection? I think there's pretty strong. Like, I don't. There's just too much. There's too much. You know, it's not just this one accuser. It's the flight logs. It's the weird painting of Bill. It's the painting of Bill Clinton in Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. It adds up. It adds up, a lot of it. Bill Clinton better hide from the rest of the world. I'll just tell you that. And again, people say, Trump. Well, see, look, Trump and Epstein took a picture once. Like, okay, if you're a rich person, and this was back in like the 90s. I mean, if you're a rich person and you're hanging around other rich people at parties, like, yeah, you gotta take pictures together and stuff like that. Like, it's red carpet behavior. But when you really break this stuff down, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein did not have a very good relationship. And as the years went on, Trump could start to see that something was up with Epstein and pushed him away. And as early as 2015 was saying that island is a cesspool, and Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew are always there. And stay away from that. Something's going on there. Okay, so he saw us. By the way, there's this old video of an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, and they asked all these people that knew him, and the investigator himself said that Donald Trump was the only person who cooperated fully with the investigation. Okay, and so this idea, at the very least, okay, if you want to say Trump and Bill Clinton were both involved, at least that makes sense. But for you to say that, no, Trump was the one that was involved, not Clinton. That's pure stupidity. There's no grounds for this whatsoever. Okay. Hillary Clinton Hillary's emails are probably on Epstein's island. That's hilarious. There's a strong connection, but you know what this tells us? Okay, I've learned through this coronavirus crap, and I'm not pushing conspiracy theories. Okay, but I've learned through this coronavirus crap that a lot of things that we once considered to be conspiracy theories are coming like scarily true. Okay. Number one, the virus came from a lab and not from a wet market. Okay. That was just a conspiracy theory around on the internet until it wasn't. Until U.S. intelligence now believes, and the World Health Organization, by the way, now believes that it leaked out of a lab, not from the wet market. Or what about UFOs? Look at the UFO stuff that's dropped during coronavirus, and the Navy in a lot of these places. The Navy and a lot of our military and stuff are now corroborating what has happened in these cases. Oh boy, guys. Oh boy. And the most important conspiracy theory of them all that pedophiles, run Hollywood and run our politics. That used to be crazy talk. There used to be tinfoil conspiracy talk. The ex-president of the United States was in on this. Prince Andrew. He's part of the royal family in England, was in on this. A lot of people were in on this, okay? So I don't push conspiracy theories, all right? And even the ones I do believe, I know I just can't say them because I would get deplatformed. But one thing I will say is that from now on, when people push conspiracy theories in your face, don't just believe them, because a lot of conspiracy theories are stupid, but don't ridicule them either. Because a lot of what we used to believe is conspiracy theory, it used to be brushed off as conspiracy theory, is not so much a conspiracy theory anymore, is it? What else but the fact that mail-in voting is a disaster, okay? So this used to be a conspiracy theory from right-wing nut jobs, and now the results are piling in so much that I see even liberal outlets are reporting on the fact that mail-in voting is just terrible, okay? And the surge of mail-in voting with coronavirus is causing a lot of problems. I saw a headline today from CNN. I saw a story. I was watching CNN today. I saw a story on, I believe it's the New York's 12th district, where they're having a Democratic primary there. And it is almost 5 weeks after the primary, and we still don't have election results. Ballots are being found, lost, thrown out. It's just a mess. It's a chaotic mess. And honestly, in the end, whoever wins, we're probably not going to be very confident that they're the actual winner. And there's stories like this from all over the place, okay, that I finally see even like the Washington Post reporting on. Let's just break this down, guys. I'm going to go over the actual evidence in cases of which mail-in voting, basically proving mail-in voting sucks. But let's just use our common sense for a second, guys, okay? So, it's just going to get, okay, it's not. So, the Democrat plan, apparently, is to send a ballot to every household in this country. And by the way, that's what they're doing in California. Okay, in California, they're literally they're going to send a ballot to every registered voter gets a ballot. Okay, well here's like the most simple basic problem with that, okay? The most underlying problem with that. So here in LA County, where I live, there are more people who are registered to vote than who live in LA County. Like, there are more registered voters than residents in LA County. 112% of the people in this county are registered to vote. Now, why is that? Yes, our voting rolls are a mess and we need to fix them. But the main reason is not because there's voter fraud necessarily going on, but just because there are people who are supposed to be taken off of voter rolls but are never taken off. Okay, so people move, they die, whatever, and they're supposed to be taken off the voting rolls, but they're not. Okay, but this is not just a problem in LA County. It's not just a problem in California. Everywhere across the country, there are instances like this where people are registered to vote, but they're dead or they moved away or something like that, and they still stay on the voter rolls because we do not do a good job unanimously in this country of purging our voter rolls. But when we do regular elections, where you show up in person to vote, okay, you show up in person to vote. So that means the people who are dead are not showing up to the voting pool. The people who are registered in other places, they're voting, they moved away, they're voting in those places. But if we send a ballot to every registered voter, we're going to be sending to these addresses that we're fortunate if nobody lives there anymore, but a lot of times someone else lives there now and they're getting someone else's ballot. You guys don't see the most basic problem with that, Democratic Party? And also 112% of LA County registered to vote. So where are those ballots going? Who's receiving those ballots? Say you live somewhere and the other person just recently moved. Are you going to receive your ballot and their ballot? You don't see a security problem with that? Let's talk about number two. So the Democrat plan, absentee voting. I don't have a problem with absentee voting. Obviously, it's still less secure than voting in person, but at the very least, absentee voting, you have to actually apply and go through a process to cast an absentee vote, right? But that's not the case for mail-in, for this mail-in voting plan. They just want to send a mail-in ballot to every registered voter. So you have no idea if the person is still alive, if the person moved. No, because you're sending to that address. Here's the ballot. But here's the other problem. if we're having the whole nation vote by, or the whole nation gets a mail-in ballot, which is what they're doing in California, so I assume, you know, that's what the Democrats in Washington are trying to do as well. If I want to commit voter fraud, all I have to do, let's say October 30th or whenever the mail-in ballots come in, right? Mailbox by mailbox. Swoop, swoop, swoop. Or I can just follow the mail truck and take their ballots, okay? I can just take the ballots out of the mailbox. That's all I have to do if I want to commit voter fraud. And with this ballot harvesting policy where you can turn in your ballot with someone else, it becomes even worse. Like, all I have to do to commit voter fraud is to just raid the mailboxes. And the thing is, when we're doing absentee voting, it's like you don't which household has a mail-in ballot and when it's coming in and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a crapshoot. Like, you're not going to be able to do a very good job of it. But if the whole nation at the same time is getting these ballots, dude, all I have to do is commit voter fraud. Mr. Democrat Party over here, just go mailbox by mailbox and take the ballots out. Furthermore, mail-in voting is just not the best system, okay? And then, okay, what about this? Here's another scenario. What about this? What about this, right? I receive my ballot, and I have it. But I can just say that I lost it in the mail. It got lost in the mail. I never got my ballot. And how does the government verify that? How do they verify that you actually did get your ballot or you didn't get a ballot? You can't. So I could literally say, oh, you guys lost my ballot. Can you guys give me another one, please? And then on election day or whatever, end up turning in 2 ballots, okay? And you really think we have the system to detect that people are doing that? No, we don't. Okay, that's the bottom line about our elections. No, we don't. It's so easy to commit fraud. By the way, absentee voting, mail-in absentee voting is the #1 agent of fraud. Okay, and we've known this for a long time. It's just the thing has been that absentee voting is such a small percentage that it doesn't really, you know, change the election that much. But I mean, there's serious problems with this. Let me see if it's uploaded. Yeah. Oh, I can't do it. Hold on. I'll pull it up in a second. But I gotta go to handbrake. But you know, there's severe security problems with this, guys, and the fact that the Democrat Party just tries to pretend like it's a hoax or whatever, like it's conspiracy theory, is just nonsense. Here, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen this way. But check this out. So CBS, this is CBS. So CBS has a reputation. CBS has a reputation for being, let's just say, not the most right-wing, but a local CBS station, I believe over in New York, did an experiment with mail-in voting, and the results may shock you. Check this out. Okay?
Letter. You already know how to mail in your vote. How you doing? Good. Thank you very much. But how long might it take for that vote to actually arrive and be counted?
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good afternoon.
We decided to test it, sending 100 mock ballots simulating 100 voters from locations all across Philadelphia to a P.O. box we set up to represent a local election office. A couple days later, we mailed 100 more using the same size envelopes and the same class of mail as real ballots here. To approximate the weight, we even folded mock votes into every one. In the following week, we checked our P.O. box for the results.
Mail pickup notice, there's more.
When we went to collect everything, though, most of our votes seemed to be lost.
That's all I have back there right now.
You're short, huh? You're totally short. I believe you.
All right, good. Have a good day.
Okay, take care.
We had to ask for a manager
I'm trying to do something about mail-in ballots.
and explain ourselves before someone finally found our votes.
Oh, they just found the votes. Where did they find those from? Where did they come from?
We soon discovered another problem: missorted mail. 2 pieces of it.
We got a birthday card from Mike to Ronnie. Have a sweet B-day. Get it? There's a B on top.
When the birthday greetings ended,
12, 13.
We found a bigger issue. 21% of our votes hadn't materialized after 4 days. And the batch we'd mailed a week prior, some of those were missing too.
So of our 100 ballots, 97 arrived, which sounds pretty good, unless you consider the fact that that means 3 people who tried to vote by mail in our mock election were in fact disenfranchised by mail.
In a close election, 3% could be pivotal, especially in what's expected to be a record year for mail-in voting.
we're going to see somewhere between probably 80 and 100 million voters receiving their ballot that way.
The Postal Service says voters should mail their return ballots at least 1 week prior to the due date. But nearly half of all states still allow voters to request ballots less than a week before the election. So you can forgive the public for being a tad confused.
How long do you think the post office recommends?
About 3 days, 2 to 3 days.
They're saying at least a week.
A week?
They're saying at least a week for your vote.
I just don't trust the mail. That's true.
You don't trust the mail either?
Well, I just don't. I would like to give, especially during COVID, give them ample time to deliver it.
I don't trust it.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm scared that it might get lost in the mail. I just want to make sure that my vote is submitted. Like, I see that it's submitted, that it actually counts.
Tony DeCopel, CBS News, New York.
You know, there are a lot of cases like that in the 2018 midterms, actually, where ballots, mail-in ballots would just get lost, and they find them in the back of a mail truck or something. Like, oh, we've just found a truck full of ballots. It happened a lot in 2018. A lot of shady stuff. And the fact that it could decide the 2020 election, terrible idea. I'm reading off. This is from our great press secretary right now. She's made a thread about this, okay? So, in Nevada, excess ballots that were sent to inactive voters piled up in Las Vegas trash cans. So we just have ballots just getting thrown out in trash cans. What's going to happen with these things? They're not secured, and there's thousands of ballots in these trash cans just sitting there. This seems fraudulent to me. Something stinks here, the story reads. And that, well, yeah, what are we doing with excess ballots that get mailed to people and they just get thrown out, okay? According to the Review Journal, there have been an influx of absentee ballots that were no good and had to be thrown out. A 36-year veteran carrier with the USPS said that all the recipients she delivered mail-in ballots to all moved or died. She kept 65 ballots that she just kept from her first delivery day. The Post and Courier reported that mail-in ballots from South Carolina turned up in Maryland. Even more, voters in Greenville County received the wrong absentee ballots in the mail earlier this year. Very secure system we have here, guys. Just last week, the Justice Department announced that the U.S. Attorney's Office and FBI in Philadelphia secured a guilty plea of an elections judge who admitted to accepting bribes for ballots. I talked about this already, but a Real Clear News report found that somehow 112% of Los Angeles County is registered to vote. In Los Angeles, 100,000 inaccurate voter registration records were generated after a technical glitch. The system inaccurately enrolled some voters for vote by mail, and 1,500 non-citizens were allowed to vote. A bipartisan commission led in part by former President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat obviously, concluded that, quote, mail-in ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. Oh, but I thought mail-in ballots not being secure was a conspiracy theory. In 27 states, a voter could designate someone else to turn in their ballot, and that becomes a huge problem. This practice, it's a huge. That's why Republicans lost. I don't want to make conspiracy theories, but I think that's a big reason why Republicans lost Orange County here in California in 2018. This practice leads to ballot harvesting. Yeah, no duh. For example, the registrar in Orange County, California, reported that in 2018, his office had people reporting or dropping off maybe 100 or 200 ballots. A Texas Tribune reported Dallas officials sequestered 700 suspicious ballots after off-the-charts complaints. Voters received unsolicited, so they didn't ask for these mail-in ballots. Unsolicited mail-in ballots. A grand jury indicted a man for using someone else's mail-in ballot to vote. The bottom line, guys, is this. The idea, first of all, it's just terrible. Okay, this idea that we can, even if mail-in ballots are totally secure, it's going to take several weeks, I would guess, to call the election. And that has real problems for the country, okay? And before Democrats try to ridicule me for saying that there is a problem with not having the election results on election night, before the Democrats try to come at me for that, hold on a minute. Can we talk about the Iowa caucus? A lot of people, it's been a crazy year. Maybe you don't remember this, but earlier this year, the Iowa caucus the results, they screwed it up. Okay, they screwed up counting, and we know that's going to happen this year. But they screwed it up. Okay, they screwed up counting the votes. Okay, so it was all screwed up. And they did not get election results till like a week after. You guys probably remember this, right? And all the Democrat candidates got mad, if you guys remember this, including, guess who? Joe Biden. If you guys remember this, the Joe Biden campaign tried to file a lawsuit against, the people running the Iowa caucus, saying that this is screwed up. Like, what? Actually, I believe they wanted to basically postpone the result. Actually, I think they wanted a recount. I believe they wanted a recount because it was just a mess. So that's the Joe Biden campaign. If you remember, the Joe Biden campaign filed a lawsuit because the election results did not come in on time, and it has severe problems with the country. It's like the idea is election night. We want to have these 3 months before the inauguration to know who the next president is, so that we can have a transition of power. But if it takes like 2 months, even 3 months to conclusively decide who won, first of all, the other side's going to be very bitter, so it's going to create a lot of division. Whoever wins, whether that's Trump or Biden, whoever wins, there's going to be a lot of division. If we cannot call the results of the election on election night, there's going to be huge problems with that, right? But it leaves a lot of ground open for either side who lost to contest the election, so that's another problem. But most of all, I mean, there's no peaceful transition of power. There's going to be huge problems with it. I think it's extremely important that we get the results of the election on the day that they happen. Okay, this idea that remember the 2000 election? The 2000 election, which was decided by the Supreme Court because of the whole hanging chads thing down in Florida, that was a problem. And a lot of people were mad and a lot of people were bitter about that. But compare that to our country now, how divided, how polarized it is. Whatever happens, if we cannot get the results of the election on election night, there's going to be severe civil unrest and problems in this country, okay? And that's assuming that the results are accurate. I would assume that what's going to happen is they're going to be like, oh, candidate, either Biden or Trump, whoever it was, they won the state. Oh, wait a minute, because this I'm not making conspiracy. This happened in 2018. They won the state. There you go. We call the state. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. We found truckloads full of mail-in ballots. I don't know. They just got lost or whatever, but we found them. We found ballots. Oh, wait, the other candidate won the state. Can you imagine how nuts? It's like, how can you conclusively decide? I don't blame Trump for saying that he would not accept the election results necessarily if this is the occasion, because, and I wouldn't blame Joe Biden either, because it's a mess. Like, how can you decide? How can you know who won? It's a mess. Here's the bottom line. Things get you saw the news story. 3% of ballots getting lost in the mail, right? 3% get lost in transmission. And that's transmission mailing in once the person has voted. Okay, this doesn't take into account how many don't get sent to the resident themselves, or they get lost in transmission that way, right? But being sent in, so 3%. Well, a lot of states, important states in this election, are going to be decided by a margin smaller than 3%. I would assume like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, a lot of these swing states are probably going to come down to a margin smaller than 3%. We don't have electoral landslides anymore, that's for sure. The loss of ballots could literally change the election, okay? And how can any side be satisfied if they lose? I mean, I don't think, by the way, if Joe Biden loses, I don't think he will accept those election results. But how could either side really be content, like, oh, we lost, when this is your system? It's just a terrible idea. It's mail-in voting. Absentee ballots, yes, we do them. But this idea that we can just have the whole country mail-in vote and it'll be fine. Huge, huge problems, okay? Stuff gets lost in the mail. A lot of stuff gets lost in the mail, to and from. You have no idea if the person who is voting is even that person. Furthermore, think about how polarized things are in our country right now. One of the important things about, and we have not always had this in our country, but one of the reasons we put the secret ballot in, the idea of the secret ballot in, is because that way no one knows who you voted for. Okay, so they can't pass judgment on you. You can't be intimidated into voting for a certain candidate. But if everyone is voting at home, there's no secret ballot. Because, you know, we know how polarized things are in our country right now. We know how angry someone could get at you for voting for Trump, whether it's family or whatever, right? I could see a scenario. Let's say I'm like, let's say I live in a house with, let's just say, and this is not the scenario I live in, but let's just say I live with my grandma or something. Okay, let's say I live with my grandma. My grandma is hardcore, and obviously I'm a conservative. But my grandma doesn't know that I'm a conservative because it would cause division in the family. Well, if I have to vote for home, my grandma could very well be like, hey, who are you voting for? Let me see your ballot. You know, and there's no secret ballot. There's no way to ensure the secret ballot. And I could say, oh, God, I don't want to piss her off. Let me just check off Biden, right? This is a real scenario. And maybe not so much back in the day. Like, people didn't care if you were a Nixon guy or a Kennedy guy. But in this climate, like, yes, it does. You can lose family, lose friends. You can have fights. People kill each other over what damn candidate they support. We need the secret ballot. We need secure elections. It's so easy to see how people could forge fraudulent ballots, lose ballots. As Attorney General Barr said, it's common sense. Like, this is not secure. This is not safe. We need to have an in-person election. Okay? The bottom line is, if we can go to the grocery store, we can vote. Because I consider voting, you know, participating in political democracy, I consider that to be an essential business. Okay? And anyone who tells me that it's not, well, okay, you don't have to vote then. You don't have to vote then. If you're scared to vote, you don't have to vote. I mean, at the end of the day, voting is an essential business. If we can protest in the streets with 500,000 people, we can show up to a voting booth and vote. You know? Worst case scenario, request an absentee ballot. All right, go ahead. Most states allow absentee ballots, especially the swing states. Okay, most states allow absentee ballots, so stop freaking whining, right? But we need to do this. We need to do our election the correct way. Okay. Someone said, this is a funny story in the chat. So someone said, my friend and I bet my teacher that he would shave his eyebrows and head if Trump won in 2016. That is very funny. That is hilarious. But I consider voting to be essential. And by the way, a lot of people say, well, you're just scared that if more people voted, Republicans would lose. Not true, actually, because think about this. Who is most vulnerable to coronavirus? Who would be most scared to show up to a polling place if there's a pandemic that affects old people? Who would be most scared? The old people. The old people are the most vulnerable. The old people are going to be the ones that are most scared to show up to the polls. Guess what else? The old people are the demographic that carries for the Republicans. Here's another case of absentee balloting. You know, rural areas, it's hard to find a polling booth, right? Polling station. So they would also be more inclined to vote if they could just mail it in, because it's going to be, they have to drive a long distance to get their to go out to vote, you know, to show up. Rural areas. So old people in rural areas, those are the Republican base. They carry the Republican voters, right? And so mail-in voting, if it was secure, would benefit the Republicans. So our concern, that's my main, like, our concern is genuinely that this is not secure, because when you really look at this, if we had secure mail-in voting, that we knew it worked, it would help the Republicans. It wouldn't hurt the Republicans. But the problem is, it's not. We don't think it's secure, and there's very solid evidence that it's not secure. And the Democrats know that they have more chances of losing a fair election than an unfair election. That's the bottom line. Because if we had mail-in voting and we could do it correctly, I would be all for it, because it would help the Republicans a lot, because more people in rural areas would vote. More old people would vote. But we can't. We can't ensure security. And I think there's a lot of evidence that we can't ensure security. So I think it's a terrible idea. Okay. As someone who's I'm still torn on who I think is going to win the election. I haven't made that sort of prediction yet, but mail-in voting is going to be a catastrophe. Okay, and it's gonna cause a lot of problems. And even if let's say everything is just rosy dandy, delayed election results are still a problem. They're actually a huge problem for the country, and people don't maybe underestimate that, because we've had delayed results for all these other elections that are minor elections. But we're talking about the presidential election. Give me a second. We're talking about the presidential election. Yes, we need results on time. All right. Anyways, we are actually going to be updating my election predictions in a few minutes, but we'll go to this one. So, moving on. But before we move on, actually, buy my merch, guys. The link's in my bio, teespring.com/stores/Vince-Dow. If one of the moderators, because I see we have some moderators in there tonight. If one of the moderators could put that in the chat, that would be great. No, I can't vote yet. I'm gonna be 17 by November. I will be able to vote like by spring of next year. So I'll probably, my first election will probably be like a special election, I would guess, because we have those special elections, after the regular election. But no, unfortunately, my first real election will be the 2022 midterms. I won't be old enough to vote this November. But I'm putting in the chat right now. teespring.com/store/Vince-Dow. Buy my merch, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even that expensive, but there you go. Anyways, this week, actually yesterday, we lost a conservative legend, Mr. Herman Cain. Rest in peace, prayers to his family. He's a legend to conservatism, and really, I think he's a role model for all Americans, and it's just tragic. But what's even more, I don't want to use the word tragic, I'll say disgusting. What's disgusting is that there's been a mob across social media mocking, including Cenk Uygur himself. So this is not just random faceless accounts on Twitter. Cenk from the Young Turks was involved in this. Leftists across Twitter and social media have been mocking Herman Cain and attacking Herman Cain in his death. It's disgusting. And it's disgusting in general just to attack, unless they were someone who was really bad and like a terrorist, a mass murderer. It's disgusting to mock and, attack anyone right when they just died. But let me tell you what's even more disgusting in the case of Herman Cain, okay? So who was Herman Cain? Okay, so let me tell you story. Let me tell you something about Herman Cain. Herman Cain obviously grew up as a black boy in an impoverished household in the pre-civil rights era South. Okay, so he grew up in the South in the 1950s, extremely impoverished as a black person. He overcame a lifetime of obstacles, undoubtedly one of which was a lot of racism in his life, and went on to become one of the most successful business people in this country. He was the CEO of all these different companies, sat on all these different boards, amazingly successful businessman, lived the American dream. Okay? He was an American success story, but more importantly, a black American success story that overcame racism to be wildly successful. And that is the person you are mocking. That is the person you are mocking. Here's the bottom line. Every person, I don't care if you agree with his politics or not, every person should look up to the life of Herman Cain, especially people who live of all colors, who live in tough circumstances should look up to Herman Cain as an example of, hey, yes, I can do it. Okay. I see you guys are commenting 1 hour gang in the chat right now. Yeah, comment 1 hour. We're almost there. Comment 1 hour gang in the chat. I'll shout you guys out in a little bit. But, this guy proved. This guy was a success story. This guy proved that, it's like, as a black person in this country, I know I did not get a fair shot at life. I grew up with a system that, back in the 50s was rigged against me, but I still worked my butt off and overcame and became successful for myself. And that's who the left is bashing. That as they cry, Black Lives Matter, empower Black people, uplift Black voices. They spit on the grave of Herman Cain. I spelled Herman Cain wrong. I just noticed that. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I spelled Herman Cain wrong. Sorry, Herman. All right, sorry, but he's a nice guy. He would forgive me. But that's who you bash. And listen. I don't care if you're a liberal or conservative. You don't have to agree with Herman Cain's politics. Okay, some things in this country should be bigger than politics, and I think American success stories like his should be one of them. I'm going to draw a parallel right here with John Lewis. Okay. What they are doing to Herman Cain, someone who fought segregation and overcame it to become wildly successful, what they are doing to Herman Cain in his death would be like us mocking John Lewis when he died. Okay? That's the exact moral equivalent of what they're doing right now. Could you imagine if we did that? Okay? So, listen, as a conservative, as a Republican, I obviously did not agree with a lot of John Lewis's politics later in his life. I didn't. But that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter to me because I think some things in this country are bigger than politics, And I think fighting for civil rights alongside Martin Luther King Jr. is one of them, Some things in this country. So listen, when John Lewis died, it didn't. I didn't. My first reaction was not. Oh, I didn't like him. He was a Democrat. He was a liberal. Like, no. My first reaction was he was a civil rights hero. He's a national treasure. He's an American hero. He's a treasure to this country. And it is a tragic loss that we lost him. I don't care that he's a Democrat. I don't care that I disagreed with him on almost every political issue over the last 4 years. Like, no, I don't care. He is a treasure to this country, and he deserves, to be honored and commemorated in his death. And it's the same case with Herman Cain because I would argue that people like Herman Cain are almost as important as the civil rights leaders. And here's why. People might go crazy for this, but let me explain this. Okay, here's why. So fighting for political equality is extremely important. And what the civil rights leaders did, they're heroes too. But in his own way, Herman Cain is also a hero. Because Herman Cain, see, it's one thing to say that we have equal opportunity and that everyone now can live the American dream. And it is one thing to say that and write that into law, but it's another thing to do that, right? Herman Cain did that. He proved like, hey, listen, he proved to the world. He's a hero in his own way because he proved to the world, look, I can live the American dream just like any white American can. And to me, that's almost just as important as what the civil rights leaders did. It is because you can say that you're equal in society, that we want to be equal in society all we want. You can say that we are equal in society. But if you don't go out and prove that as someone who comes from nothing, who comes from poverty, if you don't prove that, oh, hey, look, I can live the American dream too. As someone, I come from poverty. I can rise up. I can be something for myself. It doesn't matter the color of my skin. To me, that's also heroic. That's also symbolic. And that's something that should be celebrated. Herman Cain should be celebrated. He's an American treasure, American success story. He should be celebrated. Again, I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. You can despise his political views. I despise a lot of John Lewis's political views. You can be totally disagree with him. But some things in this country need to be bigger than politics. And I think the lives of people like John Lewis and Herman Cain are bigger than politics, at least in their death. You couldn't debate with them about their politics while they're alive, and you should. But in their death, the legacies they left behind, I think, should be bigger than whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. And the fact that these leftists are spitting on his grave, mocking him in his death is disgusting. It's disgusting. And my message to anyone who lives, in an impoverished situation, regardless of your color, you grew up disadvantaged compared to the rest of the people, right? Drown it out. Look up to Herman Cain. You should look up to Herman Cain. I don't care if you're a conservative or a liberal. You should look up to Herman Cain because Herman Cain faced a lot of racism in his life. worked his butt off, stuck his neck down, and became basically as successful as anyone could ever dream of being, right? I mean, he was not the richest man ever to live, but he was very, very wealthy, very well off. Like, no one could ever say they want more money than Herman Cain. Very successful person, right? That is a person you should look up to. You don't have to be a Republican to say that. You know, just like I don't have to be a Democrat to say that I look up to John Lewis's fight for civil rights. I don't have to be a Democrat to say that. I can totally disagree with a lot of his modern political views and still say he's a treasure to our country, civil rights icon, civil rights hero, amazing person, amazing human being, and I look up to John Lewis. And I do. I look up to John Lewis. But at the very least, you know what I don't do? I would never mock that man in his death. He doesn't deserve that. John Lewis never deserved that. It's ridiculous, but neither did Herman Cain. Herman Cain doesn't deserve that either. Herman Cain was an amazing person. He's a nice man. He's an American hero. He was an amazing man, okay? From a bipartisan standpoint. I'm not talking about his political career, which we as conservatives look up to as well. I'm just talking about his regular career, him as a person, him as his life. It should be something that is looked up to. And I hope to God these people come to their senses because, you know, it sets a really bad precedent when someone who is a black person, as you claim, oh, we want to uplift poor black Americans, da-da-da-da-da. It looks really bad, leftists, when you mock a person in their death that overcame racism to overcome poverty and to become successful themselves. Because isn't that what you want? Isn't that what everyone wants? You know, for what we would call the disadvantaged groups in the disadvantaged areas in society. Isn't that what we want for all of them? To be like Herman, to be able to grow up to be like Herman Cain, you know? To be wealthy, to be successful business people, just to be successful in general, but to work their way out of poverty and overcome the obstacles in their path. Shouldn't that be what all the so-called champions of poor, underserved aspects of our society, shouldn't that be what they want? But it's pretty clear that's not what they want. Okay, that's their problem. That's actually their problem with Herman Cain. Herman Cain, he didn't complain that the system was even though the system was holding him back. Instead of complaining about it, he just said, "Nope, I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to beat it." And that's their problem. That's their problem with Herman Cain. Herman Cain, instead of sitting around and sort of feeling bad about himself because he was born into a really hard situation that was set up against him, instead of complaining about it, Herman Cain stuck his neck down and worked his butt off to beat it. And he said, you know what? It doesn't matter that the white people here in Atlanta, Georgia, have more rights than me. It doesn't matter that I'm being discriminated against. It doesn't matter that I'm very poor, grew up very poor. Nope, none of that matters to me. I am going to beat this and become successful. And that is an inspiration. It's the same thing with Aunt Jemima, the person they are now trying to cancel. Aunt Jemima has a very similar story. You know, former slave that became a very successful entrepreneur, and it should be an inspiration, a shining example of the American dream, saying, you know, the American dream is possible for anyone, right? That should be inspiration. We should all be inspired. We should all look up to that. Instead, the leftists bash it precisely because they do not want people who grew up in Herman Cain's situation in the modern day. They do not want people who grew up poor, in poor communities, specifically in poor black communities. They do not want those people to become successful. They do not want those people to fall in the lifelong, footsteps of Herman Cain. No. That's the bottom line. They don't want the underserved, disadvantaged people in our society to become successful. That's why they don't want you to look up to Herman Cain. You know? Instead, they want you to idolize, I don't know, the rappers in your community that always glorify killing people. That's like no respect for Herman Cain. No respect for Herman Cain whatsoever. I mean, and as I said it previously, just forget the noise, okay? If you're someone who lives in a hard situation, and even if you're just someone who wants to be more successful than your parents, which I think all of us do, you should look up to Herman Cain. Follow his life example. I don't care. You know, it's just, again, some things in our country need to be bigger than whether you're Republican or Democrat. And I long for the days where we can get back to that, where it's like, oh, someone very successful and important died. Well, you know what? he might have been a Democrat. I might have been a Republican. But at the end of the day, we are both Americans, and he was a great American person. He was a great American, and I'm going to look up to him, and I'm going to honor him no matter what, right? We need to get back to that as a country. As a country, we need to get back to being able to put politics aside for like 2 seconds and say, that is an honorable person that just died. We should celebrate his life, not mock him in his death. Anyways, moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry Nadler this week. Oh my God. Not a very good week for Jerry Nadler. Okay? So earlier this week, and I'm sure you guys have seen this video already, but I'm going to play it again. Jerry Nadler was confronted about the chaos in Portland the reason I didn't open with it tonight is just because last 2 I've been doing it for like 3 weeks, so I wanted to switch it up. But Jerry Nadler asked by Flecka's Fog City Major DC Drano about whether or not he condemns the violence in Portland, and instead of saying he condemns the violence, he gave a very opposite answer, which was that the violence and Antifa is a myth and it's not even happening. Check this out.
It is true. There's violence across the whole country. Do you disavow the violence from Antifa that's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online. There's fires and riots. They're throwing fireworks at federal officers. DHS is there. Look online. It gets crazy, Mr. Nadler.
Wow, so he thinks it's fake news.
Antifa's a myth. Yeah, Antifa's a myth in Portland. Meanwhile, the whole city is on fire, and they're trying to burn down the courthouse. But,
It's a myth. The opening hour to my show for the last 2 weeks, that never happened. It's just a lie. All those videos you're seeing on Twitter, no, they're actually not real. I need a pencil. Okay, this air cartridge thing works. You are not seeing what you are seeing. You will forget this. That's what this. Oh God, I just spilled carbon dioxide on myself. That's not good. It's for like a pellet gun. It's like an airsoft gun, and the thing spilled on me, and I hope it's not toxic. But anyways, you are not seeing what you are seeing, ladies and gentlemen. All the things I talked about the last 2 weeks, not real. The 3 federal officers who have permanent eye damage and the countless others with injuries, other different types of injuries. No, they're just lying. It's just not. It just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. It's as someone said in the chat, it's CGI videos. Well, let's check in on this, whether or not this crap is fake. Okay, and so we were gonna have him on the show last week, but he was actually in Portland last Friday night, so we couldn't have him on the show. But let's check in with our friend Jorge Ventura on whether or not. I mean, let's see. Let's see what's going on in Portland. Is it a myth? Is it just not happening? Let's ask the people who are actually there, shall we?
Mayor Ted Wheeler calls them protesters. President Trump calls them anarchists. The nation has its eyes on Portland as the nightly clashes between demonstrators and federal officers have become the new norm in Portland. Over 50 consecutive nights of riot and civil unrest have taken place in the Rose City and are set to continue with no clear ending in sight. I have spent 2 weekends in Portland covering the civil unrest and the ongoing riots and wanted to give you an inside look from the ground. One Portland resident compared the situation to a war zone.
Last night was what made me get up this morning and say, hey, I'm going to do something, because last night sounded just like I was in Mosul, Iraq, right? So if you had your eyes closed and you sounds like you're in a war zone in your city, like, when is this shit going to stop?
And many residents are asking the same question. When is this going to stop? At this point, what exactly do demonstrators want? Some say defund the police, others say abolish the police, and others see this as a total revolution and an opportunity to overthrow the current system in hand. The problem here is that these demonstrators have continued to show that they are not peaceful, and the crowd has shown night after night they are willing to clash with federal officers, even if it means being arrested. In my short time reporting on the ground, I have seen a federal officer being struck in the head by a hammer, a protester shot in the head by a less lethal round by a federal officer that had to be hospitalized, and over the weekend, rioters broke into the Portland Police Association building and set it on fire. Residents are asking the mayor to restore law and order now.
Yeah, I mean, take some accountability. If he's not the guy that will lead this place, if people can't stand behind him and support him, then fine, you know, step out, get out.
Mayor Ted Wheeler has called for the removal of federal officers from Portland, but President Trump and acting Homeland Security Chad Whoop don't seem to budge. 43 arrests have been made by the DHS since July 4th, according to Wolf, and that number is surely to increase if demonstrations continue. In my time reporting in Portland, every night the crowd would vandalize and attack the federal courthouse, which would then call for a response from the federal officers to clear the crowd from the federal property with crowd control munitions, as seen here.
This is reporter Jorge Ventura reporting live here in downtown Portland in front of the courthouse. And we can see flashbang grenade being used on the crowd. And I could you start to smell a bit of tear gas now. Thank you. We're approaching midnight here. 9:52 of riots and civil arrests in Portland. The crowd has brought down the fencing just moments ago, and that's what brought out the federal officers here.
Those were some of the latest scenes from night 52 in Portland. The country will continue to have its eyes on Portland as civil unrest near 60 nights. I'll continue to provide you updates from the ground. Make sure you are following Ventura Report on Twitter, and for the Ventura Report, I'm Jorge Ventura.
Chevy says, damn, 52 nights. That's actually, it's pretty old report. It's actually about, I think it's now it's over 60 nights that we've had this. So there you go. But that's Jerry Nadler that claims that this is a myth. Okay. That's like Nancy Pelosi's like second in command in Congress. He's the chair of the Judiciary Committee in Congress. That's not AOC or like Ayanna Pressley we're talking about. I just want to be clear. That's Jerry Nadler. Okay, these are like the establishment Democrats, the so-called moderate Democrats. They are calling Antifa violence a myth and refusing to condemn Antifa violence. About 3 weeks ago, I did a show called Moderate Democrats Didn't Exist Anymore, just to prove that this idea that a lot of independent, undecided voters hold on to, the idea that there's still such a thing as the moderate Democrat Party, is not true. They've all gone crazy. They've all caved to the Antifa craziness. Even Jerry Nadler. You know, this guy's he's not AOC. This guy's been in Congress and been a top Democrat in Congress for like 30, 40 years. He's been there. He's a moderate. He's so-called, supposedly a moderate, just like your normal, typical, old-school Democrat. And he thinks it's a myth. He thinks that's a myth. He doesn't think it's a myth. He's just lying. He's just lying to your face, refuses to condemn the violence. That's just not happening? Really? Well, Jerry Nadler this week called Attorney General Bill Barr in to testify. I hope you guys all saw this because I didn't pull any clips from it. But he tried to grill Attorney General Barr about this, and Attorney General Barr destroyed him. Okay, saying, since when is it okay to? One thing he said, since when is it okay to burn down a federal courthouse? And I agree. Since when is it okay to burn down? Actually, I can pull up a video of this. Let me just find it real quick. Here is Here's some highlights this week from Bill Barr's testimony or hearing over in Congress in front of Jerry Nadler's committee. Check this out, guys. Give me a second. Let me pull it up. And this is actually hilarious because it's set to It's set to Bill Barr playing the. Here, oh, you guys will see. Okay, check this out. So this is this week from Jerry Nadler's failed attempt to get at Attorney General Barr.
You aware that the rector of the church, that the Episcopal Archbishop of Washington and the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church nationally, along with the Catholic bishop of the Archdiocese of Washington, all denounced this police assault on the civil rights and civil liberties of the people?
Did they do that before or after the fire was put out?
So how can you sit here and tell us, why should I investigate the President of the United States, if you're not even aware of the facts concerning the President using the pardon or commutation power to swap the silence of a witness?
Because we require a reliable predicate before we open a criminal investigation.
Mr. Barr, playing.
Yeah, but this is a hearing. I thought I was the one that was supposed to be heard.
Well,
I waited an hour for you this morning. I haven't had lunch. I'd like to take a 5-minute break.
Mr. Attorney General, we are almost finished. We're going to be finished in a few minutes. Otherwise, we can certainly take a break. But
you're real platform.
Well, yeah. After this, if you still we'll have a break.
No.
But in fact, you have no evidence that foreign countries can successfully swear elections with counterfeit ballots, do you?
No, I don't, but I have common sense.
Body right here would rise up if they decided to go tonight and paint the Capitol building?
This body, I'm not sure.
So, Bill Barr basically made a mess of the Democrats. But the thing about it was, the most impressive thing about it, I love our Attorney General. The most impressive thing about all of it was that he was almost never given a chance to speak. Like, I saw this hearing. This guy would straight up sorry, I got a text. But the Democrats, it was always the Democrats. The Democrats would go on this like 3-minute long tangent about something. They're just making a political speech. And then they'd ask Barr a question. Bill Barr would start answering that question, and they say, reclaim my time. And just not even let anyone, they never let Bill Barr answer the question. Okay. And so here's my question. What the hell is the point of doing a hearing? If you're not even going to hear the witness? What's the point? What is the point of calling a witness up to question if you're not going to let them answer the questions? What is the point of that? What the hell is the point of that? There is no point to that. It's stupid. There's legit no freaking point to that. And that's what this was. The Democrats never wanted to hear from the Attorney General. They knew if they did hear from the Attorney General, he would destroy them. And in a lot of ways, he already did. No, instead, this was a platform. As you could see, everyone could see it. This was a platform used by the Democrats to simply make a political speech. That's what it was. Okay, so they knew that everyone would be watching this testimony. The whole country would be watching. And they wanted to use this as a platform to make political speeches, political campaign speeches. And that's what they did. They got up there, made a speech, asked one stupid question of Barr, said, reclaim my time, and kept making their speech. That's what it was. It was a political campaign by the Democrats, not a hearing of a witness, because they never let the witness speak. They just got up there and talked crap to the witness as an indirect way to talk crap to Trump. And that was it. It was just straight up. It was a political campaign rally by the Democratic Party, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves, because that is not the way you're supposed to be using Congress. Okay, I mean Congress and congressional hearings. You know, it's like, seriously. But regardless, the Attorney General destroyed them, so it didn't matter. That did not go very well for the Democrats. But the bottom line is this: Jerry Nadler has not had a very good week, folks. Not a very good week. They thought, oh, we're going to call the Attorney General up to question. We're going to destroy him. No, they still got destroyed, even though they used it as a political campaign rally. They still got destroyed. It still backfired on them. And that's absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely freaking hilarious. Okay. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I actually think are we done for tonight? I'm trying to see. What other headlines do we have right here? Yeah, that's the end of the news we have this week. Anyway, so there's a lot that happened today, so I guess we could like pivot to that. Because I don't have the outline for the show, so I will move to this thing. Actually, I have this right here. Where is it? The political vibe. There you go. It's from an old episode, but I mean, what are you guys gonna do? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about coronavirus. So Dr. Fauci testified in front of Congress today, and for the people who say Dr. Fauci is just a nonpartisan doctor, he's just a doctor, he's not partisan. No. Watch this. This is not going to be good. But before I do that, I saw a video last week, and I forgot to play it last week. I was supposed to play it last week, but I've saved it so we can play it this week. I saw one of the worst videos ever created in the history of humanity. Check this out.
How is a genius immunologist, grad of Cornell with a doctorate, dropped in the middle of a pandemic, yet stopped by the president for all of the press he did? Cause tantrums from a toddler trump facts from a scholar. They call him the masked king, the duke of distancing. Why aren't we listening to someone of his stature and positioning? It's sickening. This is what physicians do. All disaster movies start with a scientist no one listens to. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor, the charge against Ebola and Zika. He makes McDreamy look sleazy. Dr. House, he can't keep up. He has the hottest body of work. What's your name, man? Dr. Anthony Fauci. My name is Dr. Anthony Fauci. And there's a million things I haven't cured, but just you wait, just you wait. Dr. Anthony Fauci.
I didn't know Hamilton could get worse, okay? I didn't know you could make Hamilton worse than it already is, but somehow he did it. They follow Fauci like a cult, okay? That's this issue. I follow him like a cult. Like, no, Fauci's not the only scientist with opinions on this issue in the world, but it's like cult. Like they always say, oh, Trump is a cult. Trumpism is a cult. Okay, that is evidence of cult-like behavior. From these people, because Dr. Fauci has been wrong time and time again. Every time he makes predictions, they are just flat out wrong and wildly inaccurate. And these people still follow him like cult-like behavior. Anyways, Dr. Fauci today was asked by Jim Jordan. Check this out: whether or not protests spread the virus and if they should be shut down. And check this out. For someone who was very vocal about shutting down all these different businesses, shutting down sports and all this stuff, Fauci could not bring himself to actually condemn the protests going on. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Pull this out. I don't know who posted. I think PragerU's posted it, so we could go on PragerU Instagram account. Yep, here it is. All right, switch screen. Here we go.
The chair now recognizes for 5 minutes Mr. Jordan.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Fauci, do protests increase?
Let me restart it so that it
The chair now
okay.
recognizes for 5 minutes Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus? I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone. I'm just asking that number of people. Does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask, contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protesting?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant to.
He can't give
you
an
just said
answer
it
on
increases
this.
the spread of the virus. I'm just asking, should we limit it?
Well, I'm not in a position to determine what
He
the government
cannot
can
give
do
an
in a
answer.
forceful way.
Well, you make all kinds of recommendations. You,
No.
you make comments on dating,
Exactly,
on baseball,
and he couldn't
everything
say-
you can
he
imagine. I'm
couldn't-
just asking. You just
he said they shouldn't happen.
Protests increase the spread. I'm just
But
asking,
these
should we try
protests,
to limit
no,
the
it's
protest?
ridiculous.
I think I would leave that to people who have more of a position to do that. I can tell you.
Government
that-
stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
Last week in the Calvary Chapel case, 5 liberals on the Supreme Court said it was okay for Nevada to limit church services. Justice Gorsuch said it best. He said, there's no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel. I'm just asking, is there a world where the Constitution says you can favor one First Amendment liberty, protesting,
Right.
over another, practicing your faith?
I'm not favoring anybody over anybody. I'm just making a statement that's a broad statement that avoid crowds of any type, no matter where you are.
I'm not favoring
because
anybody
that
over
leads to
anybody.
the
Such
acquisition
crap.
and transmission. And I don't judge one crowd versus another crowd. When you're in a crowd, particularly if you're not wearing a mask, that
But it's
induces
just,
the
it's a
spread.
simple, it's a simple question, doctor. Should we limit the protests? Government is obviously limiting people going to church. And look,
I'm not
there's been no violence that I can see at church. I haven't seen people during a church service go out and harm police officers, burn buildings. But we know that, for 63 days, 9 weeks, it's been happening in Portland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one night in Chicago, 49 officers were injured, but no limit to protest. But boy, you can't go to church on Sunday.
I don't know how many times I can answer that. I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm just going to tell you.
You've opined on a lot of things, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, but I never said
something that directly impacts the spread of the virus, and I'm asking your position on the protest.
Yeah, I'm not going to opine on limiting anything. I'm telling you what it is, the danger. And you can make your own conclusion about that. You should stay away from crowds.
And they
no
wonder
matter
why
where the crowds
right-wingers
are.
don't take this guy
Government has stopped
seriously.
people from going to work.
You wonder why a lot of people don't
fact, just
see
in
this
New
guy as
Jersey
credible.
4
Like,
days
they're like,
ago,
why don't you trust Fauci?
Ian
He's
Smith,
a scientist.
Frank
Why don't you
Trombetta
trust him?
were arrested for opening
Do
up,
you
for
see
trying to
now?
operate
Do
their
you see
business,
why
their
now why we
gym.
don't take this guy
They were
seriously?
arrested. But my bet is if these 2 individuals own this gym were outside just in front of their gym, and all the people who were working out in their gym were outside protesting, they'd been just fine. But because they were in the gym working out, actually running their business, they got arrested. You think that's okay?
You know, I'm not going to opine on who gets arrested and who does not. You get where I'm going. I'm telling you, as a public health official, I say crowds.
Do you see the inconsistency, though, Dr. Fauci?
There's no inconsistency, Congressman.
So you're allowed to protest millions of people on one day in crowds yelling, screaming, but you try to run your business, you get arrested? And if you stood right outside of that same business and protested, you wouldn't get arrested? You don't see an inconsistency there?
I don't understand what you're asking me as a public health official to opine on who should get arrested or not. That's not my position. You could ask it as much as you want,
advocated for
and I'm
certain
not gonna
businesses.
answer it.
You've advocated for certain businesses to be shut down. I'm just asking you on your position on the protest. I haven't seen one. We've heard a lot about hair salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist who, between haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protests actually increase the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protest do anything.
So the protests don't increase the spread of the virus?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I just want an answer to the question. Do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
I don't have any scientific evidence that anything. I can tell you that crowds are known, particularly when you don't have a mask.
But he was so explicit about anti-lockdown protests.
Transmission. No matter
what.
what.
You don't have a position on whether the protests increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus.
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to church. There's limits placed on all 3 of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
You know,
The gentleman's time has expired, but I'll just ask the gentleman to just think about his question and put it in reference to crowds that gather at political meetings, at fundraisers without masks, on an oil rig in Texas, nobody wearing a mask, nobody social distancing, but a fundraiser.
Right.
Would that be problematic? With that, I'll yield 5 minutes to Mr. Foster.
And people, like I said, and people wonder why nobody takes we on the right don't take Fauci seriously. Like, we're like, dude, you don't listen to one guy named Anthony Fauci. That means you're a science denier. No, first of all, I listened to Fauci in the beginning, but his predictions have been so wildly inaccurate every single time that it's just like, come on. Why would I listen to this guy? It's wrong every single time. But beyond that, that exposes it right there. That just exposes if he was really practicing science, he would give the straight answer of yes. Especially when you consider the other ways, other times in which he's been so solid with it. Like, yes, that contributes to the spread of the virus, but he can't give a straight answer on protests. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? As I said, different episode. This was 2 weeks ago. Same theme. This is a political virus. Okay? You can't go to work. You can't go to church. But 50,000 people can protest in Los Angeles. Okay? Actually, I'll bring up John Lewis again. And this is nothing against John Lewis. Like, John Lewis deserves he's an amazing man. He deserved an amazing funeral. But his funeral was huge. It had a huge crowds at his funeral with no social distancing, right? But a lot of other people I'm hearing, their funerals are being limited to like 10 people or 5 people. Some of them, they can't even bury, their loved ones. Do you see why people feel like just totally disenfranchised with the system? Where if your parents die, you can't bury them, or there are limits on your funeral, but where if a politician dies, he can have the biggest funeral he wants, And as great as John Lewis was, the same standards have to apply to everyone. You can't just decide. I don't want to hear any stupid Black Lives Matter or whatever advocate try to just tell me, well, John Lewis was a hero and your parent was not. Like, no, that's not for anyone to decide. It's like, if you die, if your family member dies, you should be allowed to bury them and have your funeral the way everyone else is entitled to, okay? Because, listen, John Lewis is great, but my mother and father at the end of the day are more important to me personally, than John Lewis is, right? I mean, that's how anyone would say it. Like, he's a famous figure, but the bottom line is like, my mother and father are more important to my life than John Lewis. And God forbid, let's say one of them died, I would want and should have the same right to hold my funeral, bury my parents the same way John Lewis or whatever politician, was allowed to. It's ridiculous. The same standards need to apply to everyone, okay? And the same, especially when we're talking about this issue of the First Amendment, if people can protest against police, they can go to church. And I just love the logic here. Supposedly there's this deadly virus where everyone's gonna die. We're all gonna die, right? That's the case that you hear if you turn on ABC News, right? We're all gonna die. But everyone's gonna die, but you won't let them go to church. You won't let them practice their religion right before they die. That's just utmost cruelty, I was talking about the mental health aspect of this. It's like, you can't just arbitrarily decide that your political cause is essential and nobody else's is. Like, you can't just arbitrarily decide that. Either everyone has the right to gather or nobody has the right to gather. Okay? I think everyone should have the right, but you have to pick one. At least pick one. You can't decide that my movement, my Black Lives Matter movement to defund police, we have rights, but nobody else. You can't just decide that, okay? At the end of the day, to a religious person, church, temple, mosque, whatever they practice, Their religion is essential. Okay, it's just as essential as you think your political movement that a lot of people do treat like a religion, but your political movement is, and that's it really is a religion. Okay, the leftism is really its own theology, but so we'll just say it's its own religion because people treat it like a religion. Okay, wokeness and leftism is become a religion. Okay, so there you go. Everyone's supposed to have the right to practice a religion equally, and it's ridiculous that we don't. It's ridiculous that we don't. And these arguments I hear are so stupid. You know, it's like I'll say, how come people can't go to church, but they can protest for Black Lives Matter? And they'll say, well, we're ending racism, which is essential, but protesting a made-up God that doesn't exist is not essential. You're just arbitrarily deciding that crap. Like, shut up. Shut your mouth. Like, you hear so many teenagers say this crap. Like, you're just arbitrarily deciding what you want to be legal because you like it. Like, no. Either we all can't gather or we all can't gather, but you have to pick one. You can't just arbitrarily decide one is okay and one is not. It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, okay? But it's nonsense, frankly, that we actually have to live with. Like, in many states, they are still going after people's businesses, and they're still going after churches while allowing these massive protests and not saying anything about the protests. Like, that's how political is this damn thing going to get? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Exactly. This is the most woke virus we've ever had because it attacks everyone except the left-wing protesters, right? That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like there's no consistency. That's one thing, especially in something like the public health crisis. If you're not going to be consistent, then you lose credibility as an elected official. Then you lose credibility. Now, while we're on the subject of coronavirus, I want to talk about hydroxychloroquine, but I honestly don't know how much I can say here on YouTube because they're flagging now, taking out all this crap, and I'm about to be eligible for monetization. The last thing I need is to not be eligible for that, so I'm going to talk my way carefully around this, okay? Censoring myself. Take it slow. Okay, so Big Tech has censored a video of Dr. Stella Emanuel talking about the coronavirus. Hopefully you've seen that. Because apparently, the political virus, apparently the opinions of certain healthcare professionals don't matter. Only others do, right? But okay. Let's backtrack. For the purposes of YouTube, I know you're watching this. We're going to stay away from her. Okay? But let's actually talk about hydroxychloroquine. Okay, so. Recent studies have shown that hydroxychloroquine reduces the death rate for coronavirus by around 50%, actually, if it's used at the right time, right? So it's an active treatment. Okay, it's not a cure. So as Stella Emanuel said, that's not accurate. It's not a cure for coronavirus, but it's a very effective treatment. Okay, especially if you use it early. It's very effective. But more importantly, it's safe. We know that. And we know that because it's been on the market for like 55 years. Okay, it's been around for decades and decades. And no one has ever had really severe side effects. In fact, you really would only get side effects if you use it for like 30 to 60 days. And the side effects you do get are it's like normal side effects if you take a medication too much, like nausea, stuff like that. Okay. But the media has waged an all-out war on this drug. Even though even CNN themselves had to acknowledge that a surprising study finds that hydroxychloroquine lowers death rate. It's not that surprising. I mean, okay. The media's waged a war against this drug, and the question is why? Because the second that Trump said, we're going to try hydroxychloroquine and see if it works, right? And I hope it's going to work. Okay? So the second he said that, the media swarmed like hornets against this drug. So, no. And you could just say, oh, they hate Trump, so they don't want anything Trump tries to work. But it was so coordinated. It was like the second he brought up the word hydroxychloroquine, they all swarmed. If it was something about they just don't like Trump, it would have been sort of like looser and they wouldn't have figured out because it's like one thing he mentioned in a huge press conference. But they zoomed in on this. And the question is why? Why were they so? I'll tell you why. And this is speculation. But I think there's a lot of truth to this. Because Big Pharma hates hydroxychloroquine. Why? Well, it's very simple. Hydroxychloroquine's been around for like 50 years. It's past patent, which means that anyone can produce the drug. So the drug is extremely cheap because anyone can make it. right? Anyone can make the formula for hydroxychloroquine. So big pharma cannot make a bunch of money off of it. They can't get some lucrative government contract, or they can't charge people ridiculous amounts of money for this drug because it's past patent. And so if hydroxychloroquine were to work, and it was widely accredited to have been worked, then the need for big pharma to make, a drug or a vaccine or a cure would sort of be thrown out the window. And I'm not saying hydroxychloroquine works to that extent, but still, just the idea, the risk that it could, just the risk that it could threaten big pharma. There you go. That's why. I mean, that's the real reason why. It's a severe threat to big pharma because it's past patent. I mean, that's it. And so big pharma hates it, because they didn't come up with it, and they know the coronavirus pandemic. We want to come up with a vaccine. We want to come up with remdesivir, which remdesivir works too, but we want to come up with remdesivir so that we can get all this government money and these government contracts or rip off people for it, But the thing is, the media has waged a war against this drug from the start, saying there's no scientific evidence. He's just throwing out this random drug for no. That's a lie. That's a lie. Saying, he's just coming with this. They act like he just picked this random drug out of the cupboard and was like, we should use this to treat coronavirus. Not true. As far back as 2005, there were studies done finding that chloroquine, which hydroxychloroquine is just a less toxic derivative of, chloroquine was highly effective at treating SARS coronaviruses, okay? Fast forward to March 2020, a study published in nature.com. You can go look this up. Basically, they tested this out. They tested this out, in a laboratory, not in the human body, but a laboratory with the coronavirus and with hydroxychloroquine, and found that hydroxychloroquine was deemed effective at inhibiting the growth and production of the coronavirus. And this was in March, around the same time Trump announced that he's going to be trying out this drug. And the only question was, will it work in the human body? Will the same response be, take place in the human body, which we see that it is. But that's the question. That's the only question, because they already proved that in the lab. They're just like, okay, now will the same reaction happen in the human body? But it's just, hey, let's try it out. Let's try it out, right? But the only risk would be, is hydroxychloroquine safe? Is the drug safe? But if the drug is actually safe, it's been around for like 50 years. So it's a safe drug. So that couldn't have been a question. So if you're President Trump and you see the science, you're like, yes, let's try it. Let's try hydroxychloroquine. Why not? And the media went crazy. Trump could be getting people killed with his dangerous, unproven drug. Like, no. First of all, he didn't get a single person killed because hydroxychloroquine is safe. But second of all, there was actually and still is strong scientific evidence that hydroxychloroquine is an effective treatment for COVID-19. And listen to what I'm saying, YouTube, before you try to demonetize me. I didn't say it was a cure for COVID-19. I'm saying it's an effective treatment for COVID-19, and there are many scientific journals and studies that corroborate that. And at the very least, even if it doesn't work, there is stronger scientific evidence, hence 50 years of use to treat malaria, that most importantly, it's a safe drug. So it's not going to hurt you, okay? It can only help you. There's a lot of evidence that it does help you. A lot of studies done this, okay? So there you go. But they censor, it's probably going to demonetize this video. I'm very close to monetization. This video will probably be demonetized just for saying that hydroxychloroquine studies are showing that it is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Absolutely pathetic. Speaking of big tech, did a hearing this week on Capitol Hill. So the talk about big tech is sort of being brought up again. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this, guys. I mean, big tech really is there's a divide in conservatism, right? Half say free market, we shouldn't interfere in the affairs of private businesses. Google is a private business, Instagram, Facebook, they're private, so they have the right to censor. The other side say, well, what the hell? These have become public forums. It's like everyone uses Google. You can't just say, just make a competitor. Like, everyone uses Google. You can't just can't just make a competitor to compete with Google. And it's like they're censoring conservatives. There's no freedom of expression, freedom of discourse here. Which side do I take? I take the side of what I think I put on this side. What is this side? I don't know. But I take the side of, yes, they have become public forums. That's about this idea. It's usually true in the free market. If you don't like a service, just go find another service. There's competitors. But there's no competition in big tech. Big tech has become a monopoly. I mean, obviously not officially a monopoly because, yes, if you want to, you could theoretically make a competitor to Google, but functionally speaking, big tech is a monopoly. Google's a monopoly. Okay, like functionally speaking, obviously not officially because there's Bing and there's other things, so it's not officially a monopoly, but functionally speaking, practically speaking, yes, it's a monopoly. No, nothing is replacing Google. Bing is not replacing Google. Yahoo, what the hell is that? DuckDuckGo, as great as that is, that's not replacing Google. Google is a monopoly, and so, and also in the 21st century, they have a monopoly on freedom of speech, right? On expression, on political discourse, because people, they've done studies on this. Pew Research, 75% of American adults in some way or another get their news from the internet, whether that's from social media, which 2/3 say, and the other 9% say like emails or Google searches or whatever. You're talking 75% of this country gets their news in some way, shape, or form of adults. Okay, and kids, I'm sure, like people like me, even more. But 75% of grown adults in this country get their news from, online sources, presumably, like most of them Google the news. When you are censoring all the right wing or only putting the left wing, ads to the top, when you're censoring conservatives all across social media, that's not a free market anymore. It's like this idea, but guys, free market, don't infringe on the free market. Whoa. It's not really a free market if we have a monopoly. Like, that's not a free market. But more importantly than that, it's too important. Okay? Because whether or not you want to admit it or not, the bottom line is this. The internet, these big tech monopolies have become monopolies, but they're public utilities at this point. Like, they're public utilities for political discourse, okay? We don't use the town square anymore. It used to be the town square. It used to be newspapers that we just hand out, but it's different now. Now, all that stuff happens on Google, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and these are monopolies. No one is competing with these, okay? They are monopolies. They're functionally speaking, they are monopolies. And so, first of all, just practically speaking, as a conservative, I'm not just going to sit around and let the left censor us and basically take over the country in the name of markets. Well, you know what? The left has taken over our country completely. It's 2040. Let's just say it's 2040. And the left has totally taken over our country completely. And they've totally gotten rid of the free market. But you know what? We didn't take a stand when we could have because the free market, we're proud of that. No, that's an idiotic argument. But that's just practically speaking. But there's also a lot of logical reasons why we could say this. So, companies, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1997, companies like social media companies receive liability protections from the government off of the premise that they are open platforms for speech. Okay? And you can look this up. Research Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. That liability protection is provided with the idea in mind that these companies are going to be open platforms for speech and dialogue, and they're going to respect free speech. So if a company is censoring speech, censoring conservatives, censoring political discourse, why should government provide liability protection, free speech liability protections that are not awarded to a lot of other things for social media companies? And how exactly is it big government? You're conservative. We're conservatives. We're not supposed to like the government. How exactly is it big government for government to remove liability protections for bad companies? How is it big government for them to remove government imposed liability protections? That doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't even make any sense. Okay. So there is actually legal basis for this reform. There have actually been a lot of legal arguments made that these social media companies have become public squares, public utilities, and in that case, they need to respect free speech. But practically speaking, I'm sorry, how can you as a conservative sit around and just watch what big tech is doing and say, well, government can't get involved with this because it's the free market, As if, but first of all, there's already a governmental precedent. There's already a precedent for the government to take action because whether or not, first of all, there's nothing actually in the Constitution that would stop government from, setting regulations on businesses. Like it's not unconstitutional for government to regulate business. I mean, I know some libertarians think the Constitution doesn't actually say that, right? It gives the government certain powers. But how can you as a conservative, I'm not going to sit around and watch. We all get censored. Take it off. Let the left rule the country. I'm just gonna sit around and cry free markets, but the market's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to do that. As if the idea of a free, like, as if markets are like a god, It's like you ask a concern, because at least like the radical libertarians, they're logically consistent. They believe in like the natural rights view of the market. So it's like, unless you're not infringing on someone else's natural rights, we don't get involved in the market. But conservatives don't believe, because there are a lot of instances you can ask a conservative. There are a lot of instances in which X, Y, or Z, in a way, they think they should get involved in the market. The government should get involved in the market. They're not free market absolutists. None of us as conservatives are. Conservatism is not about being a free market absolutist. It's more being in the direction of free markets, and being capitalist, is one aspect of conservatism. But that's not like we don't worship it, right? But a lot of these conservatives that will cry big government whenever you do this, there's a lot of other ways they think the government shouldn't interfere in the market. So it's kind of a stupid argument. But the bottom line is this: I am not going to sit around and watch as the left takes over the country through the eyes of big tech, which has become a public utility, a public square. I'm not just going to sit around and say and cry about the markets while the antithesis of a free market destroys freedom. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyways, that wraps up the news for tonight's episode. Anyways, so we'll move on. It's almost 2 hours anyway, so we basically got the timing right. But we will move on to the fun screw around segment of tonight's show and have a lot of fun with that. But last week we made election predictions on this show. After doing it, I've talked to a few people specifically. Some of them are like more electoral based guys, like one of them is a YouTuber who does this stuff for a living. But I talked to a lot of people, specifically people living in swing states and stuff. And I'm going to update my electoral prediction. And actually, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just do this live again? So we're going to do another electoral prediction live again. As I said last week, don't take what I say as political gospel. I don't claim to be an election predictor. I'm a commentator. I'm not a political analyst. But then again, in today's day in politics, who really knows? Because the people who claim to be experts are very often wrong, and the people who are not experts and just use their intuition are very often right. So honestly, who knows? But don't take this prediction as political gospel, as I will say again this week. It's just, me breaking it down and look at what it actually leave the map for me. Okay. Well, 270 wins saved my map for me. So there we go. We can do this. All right. So last week, you guys, this was our map. So last week we had Michigan, Biden winning Michigan, Democrats winning the election 283 to 255 over the Republicans. And that was as I said, my election prediction was totally objective. So, and honestly, I still don't know who I think is going to win the election. But you guys have talked to me. Some of you guys talked to me a little bit more. Some people who live in Michigan have talked to me, and polling stuff like that. I've had enough people manage to convince me. It's still sort of a lean red for me, but I've had enough people basically convince me that Trump seems like he will win Michigan. Okay, and it's hard to say. I don't regard polling that much, but a lot of people have been telling me that I live in a blue area in Michigan. The enthusiasm is big here. A lot more people than the media paints are actually mad at Gretchen Whitmer for the handling of coronavirus. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I've been slightly convinced that Trump takes Michigan. So with taking Michigan, my electoral prediction would change from Biden winning to Trump winning if Trump takes Michigan. But an interesting thing to consider, right? That you would think that if Trump wins Michigan, he also wins Wisconsin because it's a similar state. He also wins North Carolina. And he also wins Pennsylvania, right? But let me backtrack on that a little bit. I don't know. I mean, that's hard to say. So Wisconsin is hard. It's a hard. Trump won Wisconsin by, I believe it was, a little bit. Trump. Someone says, "What do you predict for Florida?" Yeah, I have us winning Florida. We win Florida on this map. Okay, so just so we're clear there. Let me. Can you see that? That should be good. Actually, I'll just move to here. All right, but yeah, I do have Florida going red. There's no way we win the election without Florida, in my opinion. But yes, we do have Trump winning Florida. So I don't know. For me, I just still don't see us winning North Carolina. It just seems to have taken such a blue trend, in my opinion. So I'm going to keep that blue. But I do think that if he doesn't win Michigan, I think he wins Pennsylvania. So we'll do this. So I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like if I make such a zealous prediction in one way or the other, if it's off, like if I have, if I have a strong prediction and it's off, then I look very stupid. But whatever, right? At the end of the day, as I said, I'm not a predictor, and this election's kind of a toss-up for me. But especially considering the fact that a lot of Trump's messaging with energy, and Western Pennsylvania is big on energy, like fracking and coal and stuff like that. I don't know. I just have this instinct that we can take Pennsylvania. I'm not sure about it. For me, it's sort of a toss-up, so it could easily go blue. But the question, I guess, why not? We'll just see Pennsylvania goes red. I still don't see North Carolina. I don't know. But if Trump wins Michigan, you think he's sort of in Pennsylvania. It's close to say. Now Wisconsin, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it blue because Scott Walker losing in 2018 by a significant margin to me. That was just sort of a bad sign to me. But who knows? Who knows? But I'll keep it like this. So I guess you could say this is updated prediction. Republicans beat the Democrats. Trump beats Biden 291 to 247. But that is dependent on us winning Pennsylvania and or Michigan, right? Because if it goes the other way, then we lose. Here's some other interesting things to look at. So I think we hold Texas. I think we hold Florida. For me, the hardest states are going to be Georgia and Arizona. Those are the reliably red states that have really taken a blueward trend and are going to be really hard. And so, given this scenario, let's just say they take Arizona and Georgia, right? Let's just say that. The Democrats. We lose, but we took Wisconsin, we win. And like I was saying earlier, Wisconsin is a similar state to Michigan and Pennsylvania, so then you'd say that. But also, let's look at my bold prediction. My bold prediction was we actually win Minnesota, which is sort of an out there prediction. And the reason I said that was because I think all the nonsense going on in Minneapolis, a lot of violence over in Minneapolis, that will sort of swing. It was trending red. I think that pushes them over the line. But let's just play it safe. Let's play it safe and say the Democrats win Minnesota, right? Then we're losing again. And so then with this, but let's say that, okay, this is the map. If we just hold on to the states that we're supposed to win, right, like Texas and Florida, and we take the Rust Belt, we would just need in this scenario for us to flip North Carolina. And the logic I've been hearing, and I guess it makes sense, is that if we take Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, then we would also take North Carolina because North Carolina is a similar state. Although I don't think it's necessarily so similar to the Rust Belt because these are like Rust Belt states, whereas North Carolina is sort of like a DC metro area type. So I don't know, hard to say. But you would think, and I guess it makes sense, that if Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania go red, then so should North Carolina. In that case, we win despite losing Georgia and Arizona. Now, something else to consider. Let's just say this is Georgia's very scary for me. I don't know. Georgia's very scary. But something to consider in terms of Arizona is that since in presidential elections, I think Democrats have never got, since like in the last like 40 years, Democrats have not gotten more than 44% in the state, or 55%. Obviously, need to get like over 50, around 50% to take the state. And so when you consider that, like Arizona, Biden will probably get a little more because of all the morons moving from California, and also, you know, so some changes in the state, right? Changes in voting demographics and age demographics in the state, and racial demographics, stuff like that, right? So it changes the state, but it's still, I still would say that it's hard to see Arizona necessarily, because you're talking about 44% for the Democrats all the way up to 51% in the span of 4 years. That's sort of an out there one for me. So honestly, I maybe when I heard that stat, which was interesting, because I was actually very scared about it. I'm still scared about Arizona. It's going to be a really hard state, especially when you look at what happened in 2018. But when you take that stat into account, when you take into account the fact that incumbent party turnout is lower in the midterms, which is the only reason why Kirsten Sinema won, then I think you could say, I think I would say with increased confidence that Arizona stays red, which is a good thing, which is definitely a really good thing. And in that case, we win. Now let's see what happens. We take this, we lose Georgia, but let's say we don't win North Carolina, we still win. Or let's say we take North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Michigan, but we don't flip Pennsylvania again. Here's an interesting election scenario. So in that case, we win 270 to 268. But something I haven't been taking into account is that there's this one district in Nebraska that sometimes votes blue. I don't know which one it is, so I'm just going to put 3. But here's the case. So if that one district in Nebraska that usually goes blue, then look at this. We have an electoral college tie. Isn't that interesting? Now, obviously, it would be bad that one district in Maine that usually goes red, if they go blue, obviously the Democrats win. But let's just say that doesn't happen, right? Look at this scenario, guys. I mean, there's actually a real possibility of an electoral college tie happen. Because let's just say Maine splits, or Maine goes either, if Maine and Nebraska either both split or both go solid, and this is the map, this is a very real possibility for this map, right? They take Georgia, hold Minnesota, they take Pennsylvania, but we take these other states. Then you have an electoral college tie, which is very interesting. And I believe, actually, electoral college tie. I know the answer to this, but I don't want to look stupid, okay? I know the answer. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. But if we have an electoral college tie, unfortunately, in our case, this was not true in 2016, but unfortunately for us, if we were to have an electoral college tie, we would lose, because if it was an electoral college tie, it goes to the House of Representatives. Obviously, the Democrats control the House of Representatives, so we would lose the election. But so we can't have an electoral college tie, okay? Because we would lose in that case. But there you go. There you go. There's electoral prediction for this time around. So anyway, some other updates. Do I have the thing? No, I didn't make the thing. Okay, so we'll do a Q&A for like half an hour. But one more thing. So Monday is going to be the 2-year anniversary of my basically start. You know, obviously I started on Instagram. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But it's going to be the 2-year anniversary of my first ever video on Instagram. Now, Monday is also the day that I'm getting my wisdom teeth pulled out, which, because of that, I'm not even sure if we're going to be able to do a show next Friday. I mean, we'll catch up on the shows, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do a show next Friday. It just depends on whether or not I'm recovered. I don't even know how long it takes to recover. But so next week, I was going to do an anniversary segment this week, but I would rather do it next week, because I don't know if I'm going to be able next week to do a show. In that case, I can just make an anniversary video on episode 16 of the show, right? But one thing I did want to play this week, because this was interesting, is long time ago. It's not that long. I mean, for me, it's a long time ago, because it's like a fourth of my entire, not a fourth. Yeah, fourth. Like a fourth of my entire political commentator aspiring career journey thing. I had about 7,000 followers on Instagram at the time. I tried to start a weekly show. It was on Instagram, not on YouTube, but I tried to start a weekly show a very long time ago. And by a long time ago, I mean like September, October, around October 2019, September 2019, I think. I think that's when this was. But I want to show you guys this because it's kind of a trip. I watched it. It's kind of a trip. It was not a success. It was a pilot episode. I never got off the ground because no one wanted to watch it or cared what I said at the time, which has changed with this show. We've actually been able to make a weekly thing. But long story short, 6-7 months ago, I tried to, no more than 7 months ago. What am I doing? It's more like 9-10 months ago. I tried to start a weekly show and I wanted to show it to you guys because it's kind of a trip to watch. So check this out. Vince Dow's first attempt at doing a weekly show. Check this thing out.
Jim Comey lives in an alternate reality. In this world, he is the Messiah. He is Spartacus.
Hold on, there's some problems with it. Give me a second. Let me click it again.
Jim Comey lives in an alternate reality. In this world, he is the Messiah. He is Spartacus. He is a true revolutionary, fighting for truth and transparency in a world ridden with corruption and lies and obstruction. But in the real world, he's just a lying, crooked, leaking cheat. The contrast between the actual contents of this very bad IG report and Comey's Twitter defense of himself, his very bad Twitter defense, are, well, striking. The first of the Inspector General reports reveals multiple instances of Comey using his federal power for political gain, as well as the repeated mishandlement of classified information and U.S. intelligence, including memos 2 and 3. The report literally says, and I'm quoting, quote, Comey set a dangerous example for the over 35,000 current FBI employees and many thousands more former FBI employees. Yet, according to James Comey's Twitter, not only has he been completely exonerated in all of this, not true, but everyone who supposedly slandered him over the years should apologize. Yes, I'm being serious. Now, I would say we should try to correct him, but he seems happy in this delusional little world of his. So, I say let's just let him be. Comey gets busted, Kirsten Gillibrand is a quitter, Hong Kong continues to make America look soft, and the stock market is crazier than a roller coaster at Six Flags. I'm Vince Dow, and this is the pilot of the weekly Dow's Day podcast. Now, as much as I would love to rip on Jim Comey for this entire episode, I really do think I have to be responsible and, talk about the really important issues that actually affect the lives of day-to-day Americans. So, of course, let's talk about the Popeye's chicken sandwich. But first, you gotta come meet me, okay? If you're on the West Coast, you gotta come to WRC, okay? On October 20th, save this date, on October 26th to 27th, Turning Point USA is holding their Western Regional Conference in Newport Beach, California, okay? So, of course, Charlie Kirk will be there. I'm sure there's a lot of great speakers that are going to be there. The West Coast is stacked with quite a few prominent conservatives. I'm not going to leak any information that I'm not aware of, but of course, I will be there. The mighty Vince Dow will be there. And what else do you need? That's all you need for a conference. Just come see Vince Dow. Spend the whole weekend with Vince Dow at WRC. So if you're on the West Coast, if you're thinking of coming, go apply right now at tpusa.com/WRC, of course. Who cares about the rest of them? Of course, Vince Dow will be there. So anyways, the whole country is buzzing over the hot new, well, some of them are hot, some of them are mild, but the hot new Popeye's chicken sandwich. But being the conservative that I am, I've got to defend tradition. I've got to stick with tradition. I've got to stick with this country's principles. So I'll say it. The Chick-fil-A sandwich is still superior to the Popeye's chicken sandwich. Right? Hold on. Okay. I'm going to make a somewhat educated case. Some of it's stupid, but firstly, it's the wait, okay? One of them takes an hour, the other takes 10 minutes. I mean, why would you wait an entire freaking hour, 30 minutes to an hour, for a damn chicken sandwich? I mean, I've had some good chicken sandwiches in my life. They're artisan. They're from very good places. But really, Popeyes? You're going to wait 30 to a whole hour for Popeyes, which is basically a slight step up from just another fast food place? Okay, your time is money, folks. Your time is money. You do not have time to sit in line for an entire hour like a stupid snowflake for a damn chicken sandwich. Secondly, it's the grease. Okay, now I'm not by any means saying that Chick-fil-A is healthy, but it is not. Whenever you eat Popeyes, KFC, any true deep fried chicken place, the grease just comes dripping off. It's terrible. It's freaking diabetes. It is the obesity problem in this country exemplified. So you want to go on the diet? Don't really eat Chick-fil-A, but you want to go on a diet? You eat Chick-fil-A. You don't eat Popeyes. Okay. Finally, it's the originality. Popeyes obviously ripped off Chick-fil-A, and you know what they say about sequels. They suck. They're not as good as the originals. You know, all crappy knockoffs of stuff do well at first, but they die out eventually. You know, you've got the original right here. You know, whenever you have some crappy knockoff, it goes for a second, everyone's like, what is this hot new thing? Then everyone realized, oh, it's just a ripoff. It crashes and burns. The original stays strong. All crappy knockoffs of stuff die out eventually. And that's exactly what happened with Kirsten Gillibrand.
Okay, so I have to. I can only play 5-minute videos, so I have to switch to this. But here's part 2 of last week.
That's a really odd pivot. But this week, the senator from New York has already announced that she's dropping.
And it glitched out again, so I gotta play it again. Okay, here's part 2.
That's a really odd pivot. But this week, the senator from New York has already announced that she's dropping out of the race. Now, that really is a shame for the Democrats, at least. I mean, I'm happy. She was the one person that I was afraid of. You know, she really had it going with the gay rights and the also gay rights. Now, even though nobody else does, you know the one person that does agree with me? President Trump himself. President Trump also agrees with me. I mean, he's a very smart man. Wharton School, the University of Pennsylvania. And he, too, recognized the threat of the big K, tweeting out, a sad day for Democrats. Okay, Kirsten Gillibrand has dropped out of the presidential primary. I'm glad they never found out that she was the one I was truly afraid of. And this is true. The big K truly threatened Trump's presidency. Why? Gay rights. Gay rights. It's those gay rights. Wait, Kirsten. Oh, hold on. Wait. Okay, so people are telling me that Kirsten Gillibrand was an awful candidate. What? An awful candidate? A trash candidate? Okay, so people are apparently telling me that the reason she got thrown out of the race is because she was bland and unoriginal. She was too far left. She has a past that makes her a hypocrite, and she is extremely pretentious. Okay. All right. So what you're saying is she's like every other top Democratic candidate, bland, pretentious, unoriginal, a hypocritical past, and very far left. Okay. Oh, but see, unlike Kamala Harris, for example, she's not black. She's just a white Kamala Harris. This is the problem, I suppose, with all the Democratic candidates. I mean, at least Liz Warren is original, but she's pretentious as all hell and has never been this far left. I mean, she used to be very, very moderate. Bernie can at least say that he's fought for these things his whole life, but still is bland, unoriginal, etc. So I guess I understand why Kirsten Gillibrand sucked. I'm just struggling to figure out why that doesn't make the rest of these Democratic candidates suck. I mean, I've just been getting this perception that everyone seems to universally hate Kirsten Gillibrand, but she's basically every single Democratic candidate in a nutshell. She doesn't have this grand, shining negative attribute that makes her any worse than the rest of them. So really, I suppose these candidates are all the same. They really are. They're all the same. And it is difficult to tell which of them will rise and which of them will, fall the race. It's a roller coaster. It really is a roller coaster. Kind of like our stock market. I really got to get better with these trends.
Okay, sorry to interrupt the show. I was toward the end anyway. But breaking news right now. It was an hour ago, but I didn't see it. Trump has said that he is going to ban TikTok. It's an executive order. Now, if it's a national security risk, and that's what U.S. intelligence determined, all for it. But don't think I'm saying this because I was big on TikTok because I never really cared about my TikTok and shadow ban anyway. I really don't care. But this is gonna piss a lot of young people off, and my concern with Trump banning TikTok is that. So we remember what he did, the TikTokers did with, and the K-pop people did with, messing with the rally tickets, which that didn't actually impact the attendance at the rally, but I could see some stupid because young people never vote, right? And they don't like Biden at all. So just generally speaking, the fact that young people don't vote and don't show up to the polls, it helps Trump because young people obviously vote for the Democrats. But I could easily see a campaign coming out of this for young people to actually go and all go out and vote. You know, actually, young people to actually vote out of some stupid internet campaign about Trump banned TikTok, vote for Biden and save TikTok back. And I hope that doesn't happen. Okay. Because Trump knows what he's doing a lot of times politically, but Trump doesn't. I don't think he understands young people and meme culture and that type of stuff. Like he's like 74 years old. No. So I'm worried about that. I'm really worried about that. So what I hope ends up happening is that like some US company buys out TikTok. The Microsoft was actually in talks of buying TikTok. I hope something like that happens and it doesn't end up getting I'm gonna delete right tonight, delete the app regardless, make my final video, TikTok, delete the app, that's fine. I don't care. It's not about me. But I don't think it's a good move politically because I could see some stupid campaign by stupid teenagers to actually go out and vote. They can, or I hope they can organize without their platform. But the stupid TikTok influencers are probably going to start some movement. You need to go register and vote. See, Trump banned TikTok, and I hope to God that doesn't happen. Like all these young people that never care about politics, they get brainwashed. Trump banned TikTok. Vote for Biden. Let's hope that doesn't happen. That's why no. Wait till after the election to do this. You know what I mean? You know, because regardless if you win or lose the election, it's fine. The election's over. Okay, you know it's not going to be a problem. But the fact that he's doing it before the election, you could see a save TikTok campaign, and it's not gonna. It's not gonna be. I don't want to see it. You know, it's going to be such a close election. I don't want to see anything that's going to piss off a voting base that we know will go very poorly for Trump. Okay. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. TikTok is now banned. Should I make my last TikTok right now live on stream? That would actually be funny. I'm going to do it afterwards though. No, there already is a new app. I'm not concerned about that, but you know how listen, teenagers are stupid. Okay, not the teenage community. The mainstream teenage internet community is very stupid. Okay, I don't put any stupid crap past them. That's the thing. That's the thing. They're just gonna be mad regardless. Okay, and I don't want to have to deal with it. I'm worried about that. Okay, I'm worried about the political effects that could have. Not because it's gonna say. It's not because like, oh, young people are thinking of voting for Trump and now they're gonna vote for like it's not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying young people that generally don't like Trump but don't care enough about politics to vote might actually show up to vote because they're pissed about it. You know what I mean? That's the problem to me. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we will head out. We have about like 40 minutes left. We'll do a Q&A right now. So you can drop your questions right now in L chat and we can talk. Let's have a little talk. Let's have some fun. All right. So drop your questions, drop things you want to talk about, and let's do this. All right. So I'll give you guys like 10 seconds to catch up with the stream and we'll do this. Q&A time, boys. So yeah, there you go. Okay, Alex says, Vince, when are you going to dust your room? Never. Never. Stay dusty, my friends. Okay. Alex says, worst thing Trump has done. I got to think. What are some things Trump has done? Let me just go back and think. I got to think about that. That's it. Oh, I would say failing to get the Obamacare. Failing to repeal and replace Obamacare. I'd say that's the worst thing Trump has ever done. I mean, he really mishandled that. The Republicans, they just did not come up with a good plan when they were trying to get it. It was a mess. It was a mess. I would say that's the worst thing Trump has done. That did not go well. I would say his failure on Obamacare, and I know he was early on in office, but that was failure on Obamacare. I would say that's the worst thing Trump has ever done. Not managing to get it done. Play GTA with you. My gamer tag is the same as my Instagram username, the Vince Down. Yeah, we can play sometime, guys. I hope you guys have money, and I hope you guys have can unlock heist. I need money. All right. So if you guys can help me make some money in GTA, because I want to buy a Hydra. All right. And I spent all my other money buying all this other crap, so I only have like $400,000 in the game left. But I want to buy a Hydra, and that's about $4 million. So if anyone can help me make about $3 million, you would be the best, and you would help me buy my Hydra. So we would do that. Can we see a gaming stream? I don't know. How many people would watch a gaming stream? Also, I don't even know how to record. I mean, I have an Elgato, so maybe we could set. I don't know how to use OBS and all that fancy crap. I don't know. Maybe we could do a gaming stream. When's the birthday? Birthday's April 19th. So yeah, it's the day before 420. Just remember, the day before 420 is Vince Now's birthday. What do you think of California trying to remove the Civil Rights Amendment? Yeah, leftists are racist. That's just straight up. Leftists are racist. What else is there to say about it? You know, it's like, while they lecture us about anti-racism, what they have is just anti-white racism and anti-Asian racism, by the way. Leftism are racist, not much. I got you, fam, with the Hydra, but you can't transfer vehicles to me. That's the thing. I want to transfer. I want my own personal Hydra. You know. You can't. The gamer tag is the Vince Now. You should be able to find it there. I'm putting in the chat. The Vince Now. Well, the executive order has not been signed yet. He said it on Air Force One apparently tonight that he said he was going to ban TikTok, which is fine by me. I have some friends that are probably not happy with it. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I have some friends that are not happy with it, I'm sure. But I'm fine with it. It's all good. I sort of discovered a way to record, because the only reason I was on TikTok for as long as I was is because it's just people engage with TikToks on Instagram for some reason. Like, they like that form of video. And there's a lot of psychology behind it. I don't want to get into it. But I sort of discovered like a sort of good setup to record that type of stuff without TikTok, and that's what I'm going to do. So there you go. Yeah, exactly. Alpha Lance. I'm not Chinese, dude. Why did you assume I know how to say that? You hear about Portland Antifa members being paid to stay in hotels? Yeah, I've heard about that. Guys, people always are. Antifa is not even an organization. They're decentralized. Like, yeah, that's like saying ISIS is not an organization. Like, yes, there are some people who just commit and go out and do stuff in the name of ISIS, but there is still a central leadership, a central command structure. And there's still people who are like members of an organization known as Antifa. And yes, I mean, as ISIS rather. And yes, and Antifa is an organized organization. Okay. Now, there are people outside of that sort of organized paid circle. Because they have leadership, they have lawyers, they have structure, they have commands. Like, Antifa is a highly organized organization. Anyone who does not, who tells you it is not, is lying to you. But I mean, that's just pure evidence. Like, yes, they have funding, they have structure, they have everything. Oh, you're just asking to say talk Chinese. Okay, well, how do we say goodbye in Chinese? You could Google it right now. Goodbye Chinese. All right. Let's see here. Sai Qian. I think that's how you say it. Sai Qian.
Sai Qian.
There you go. Sai Qian. There you go. How do you get involved with Turning Point USA? Okay, so unless you're a social media influencer, which I'm guessing you're not, I would send you a different place. But tpusa.com/get involved. Everything you need right there. You can, whether you want to start a chapter, you know, just get on the email list, whatever it is, whatever you want to get involved in. Is there a chapter at Texas A&M? I believe there is. Is there a chat? Yeah, I'm pretty good watching it right now. Let's do it. I know how to use the USA website. Nice thing about the USA website is that, like, everything you need, you just type in the word after the slash and it's like there. It's like they're so good about it. Okay. I will find that for you. Just go to tpusa.com/chapters if you want to see if your school has a chapter. It's being very slow because I'm on stream right now, but we will find it. Hello? Why aren't you loading? Oh my god. Anyways, let's see if there's questions. Okay, here we go. It's starting to load. It turned white. So that means it's loading. By the way, they're screwing with college football now, so I'm officially pissed. This coronavirus has to end. Thanks, China. Like the other sports, I don't really care, but now that they're changing around the college football season, I am pissed. I am pissed. Okay, I'm ready to go fight a revolution. I mean, you do not mess with my college football season. All right, oh my god. Okay, here we go. So they have actually all this across the country. I can look it up for you. Texas, Texas A&M. It's all glitched out, but yes, there you go, Texas A&M. That's not the website. I think it's, but yeah, Texas A&M, College Station, Texas. You have a Turning Point USA chapter, and if you didn't, I'm sure you could find a Young Republicans or YAF. But there you go. Yes, you have a chapter, so don't worry. Texas A&M's future Texas A&M student is there. Okay, I don't know why you can't find my gamer tag, but all right. All right, keep asking questions, guys. Do I follow Q? I don't know. I'm still yet to see like solid evidence of the Q. You know what? It's like, when's Hillary? Well, maybe you know, maybe it is real because like now dirt is coming up on the Clintons, so maybe we're not far off. But largely speaking, it seems like they're always saying a storm. The storm is coming, but the storm never comes. I hope the storm comes, you know, because the storm would be a thing. But like, I think I'm not fully convinced yet that it's not a conspiracy theory. I think it's basically just a conspiracy theory. Although there are some things that could, I guess, fall together in place that would convince me otherwise. But yeah, exactly. They're doing conference only games. It's stupid. You know, let me tell you what's so stupid about this. Okay, so this is gonna be college football talk, but so you have these college football conferences, right? And we'll say the SEC, for instance. Okay, so in the SEC, you have South Carolina. Okay, in the ACC, you have Clemson. Clemson and the University of South Carolina are in the same state, very close to each other. But they can't play within the same state because of COVID-19. But South Carolina can travel all the way down to Florida to play football. You know, it's like, what are some other teams? Let's talk about the Big 12. Okay, the Big 12. So Texas can travel all the way to West Virginia can travel all the way to Texas to play football, but they can't play within the ACC. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we're canceling the Texas LSU game, so Texas and LSU in Louisiana, right? You can't do that travel, but you can have West Virginia. It doesn't even make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Let me think. Okay, here's another rivalry. I guess Florida State. Okay, Florida and Florida State. Not only both in Florida, but I'm trying to think of a map of Florida. They're not totally across the state of Florida. They're sort of like, okay, but regardless, both in Florida and Florida State. So Florida State can travel all the way up to Boston, all the way to Boston College to play a game there. Because I think they play each other, but you know, they're both in the ACC, right? So they can travel all the way to Boston College, but they can't play Florida, which is within their own state. It doesn't make any freaking sense. Moreover, how can you need out of conference games to determine the playoffs? Because like, you need to see the conferences play each other so you get an idea of like how good the conferences are in comparison to each other. Like, you need out of conference games. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Yeah, no Georgia Tech game either. They're both in the same damn state, but it's like Georgia can go to like Kentucky or wherever. Like, they can go all these other states. Georgia Tech can go all the way up to Boston College in the ACC, but they can't play within each other. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any damn sense. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Exactly. Florida can't play Florida State, but we can play Vanderbilt, which is in Tennessee. It doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. It's so like, they should. Okay, if you want to limit it, they should have every team should get to play one out of conference game. That's a rule I'd make. One out of conference game if they have a rival. You know, like USC gets to play Notre Dame. But that's across the country. But I'm like, okay, it's a big. How can you take that out? But at the very least, Florida should play Florida. Georgia should play Georgia Tech. South Carolina can play Clemson. Like, that just doesn't make any damn sense. This is all stupid. It is stupid. It is pure stupidity. That pisses me off. Okay. Can you be involved in TPUSA at the homeschooler? So obviously can't start a chapter, but you can absolutely stay involved in terms of the activism. Like, you can go. A lot of the events were canceled this year, but you can still stay involved with the events and social media and stuff like that. There are ways, and like I said, go to tpsa.com/get involved to like sort of like figure it all out. Yes, shout out to Jonathan Isaac for being the only NBA player to stand for the national anthem. Do I think the left will continue the COVID delusion if Trump wins the election? Yeah. I think only if Joe Biden wins, they'll cancel it. But for a little while, they're going to continue they're going to continue talking about coronavirus just because it reflects badly on Trump. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big college fan, but these rules sound ridiculous. Yeah, it's stupid. But at least we're having a season, okay? But it's stupid. Yeah, good conferences will have exactly like the record in the SEC will be worse because the SEC is a more competitive conference than say the ACC or the Pac-12. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. When will you run for prez? This is a widely asked question. Will I run for president? So obviously, in order to run for president, I would need to be basically a famous political commentator by the age of 35, which if it all works out for me, and if you guys keep supporting me, thank you very much. We will get there. But the question is, come 2040, would I run for president? Well, when will you run for president? So if I did run for president, which, I leave on the table, I guess I never rule it out. I would sort of do it the way Trump did it, which is like I would step in at a time where I feel like the Republican Party is lost and totally mismanaged, and then I would step in and be like, guys, we got to get together. All right, and that's why I would get in and get in the presidential race. That's the reason why Trump really got in the presidential race. It's because it's like, I don't really want to be president, but if you guys can't get it together, I will. I'll try it. So that's a scenario in which, and whenever that comes. I predict that 2040, which is the youngest I'll be able to, run for president. I predict 2040, the Republican Party will probably be in a state like that. So maybe I can run in 2040. Who knows? But that would be the scenario. Yeah. I never ruled it out. There you go. I think another company will end up buying TikTok. You just have to see. Microsoft is trying to, but I guess Trump doesn't really like that enough. Trump needs to realize that, it's funny. You want to see something? Can you see this? I'm not sure if you can see this. Hold on. I don't know if you can see what I'm trying to show you. Okay, never mind. You can't. But I have a sticker on my laptop right here that has Trump on it, and it says China, like spelled like China. But I get no, what he's doing from a national security standpoint is good, but yes, it's an election year. Okay. And I'm worried that there's going to be some stupid online campaign where young people actually show up to the polls and vote in the thing because their online celebrity told them to do it because Trump banned TikTok, and I'm worried about that. Okay. Don't run for pres. Run for governor or mayor. You'll get more done. Well, if I ever did run for political office, I think it would be president. Maybe Congress, but I think it'd be president because it's like I don't want to be a politician. That's not my goal in life. My goal in life is to be a political commentator, be on the internet, TV. That's what I want to do in terms of life. And so, if I were to get involved in politics, it's either go big or go home for me. You either have to be something profoundly wrong in our country, and I would think I would step in and get involved that way. I think if I were to run, I'd go for president because that would be it. Oh, Vince, did you hear what happened with the Dalpac fan page? Kind of. What happened with it? I know what I thought we were keeping it, so I don't know what happened in there. But the power, yeah, exactly. The power of these TikTok famous 16. Look what they did with Trump's rally, and that didn't do anything. But it does show that young people, if they get involved in stupid online campaigns, can actually do stuff. You know what I mean? So it's scary. Hope it doesn't happen. Hope it doesn't happen. Oh, Alexander said, we can play this next week. I'll do the glitch. I'll get you 3 Hydras. Hold on, give me a second. Did I hear about the NHL? I heard that they're not kneeling for the national anthem. That's great. In fact, you know, oh, this is the guy who's talking about the Doomsday Heist glitch. Okay, so we can do that. Actually, you know what I was thinking of doing on this show, but I was like, okay, if I do it in the beginning, everyone's gonna leave the stream because it's like they want to watch me doing or saying something, right? But I was thinking, like, should we just literally just play the national anthem and stand up during stream? Like, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? It'd be oddly controversial because apparently standing for the national anthem now is the NHL fans are kneeling. Hockey fans are kneeling for the national. I thought hockey fans were cool. Okay, well, I don't watch hockey, but I thought hockey fans were cooler than that. Okay, but I was, I don't know why the freaking not. We have like 20 minutes. I don't know how I'm gonna kill these 20 minutes till we get 3 hours. So why the freaking not? Let's do that. I feel like that'd be interesting. We could just literally just play the national anthem on stream and stand for it because a lot of morons don't. And I guess I'd have to face this way because I have a flag right there. But yeah, why the frick not? Let's do it. Let's see, Star Spangled Banner. Get it? Let me pull it up. I try to find a non-copyright version of it. So let me see here. Because I'm not trying to get copyrighted for the damn national anthem. So let's see. Give me a second. Star Spangled Banner. I'm gonna put in cover so that way we don't get striked for this crap. Okay, this one looks like. Okay, this one looks like it's probably Hopefully there's non-copyright. Is it? Okay, it should be safe enough. All right. Let's do this, folks. Okay. Why the frick not? Actually, I need to be able to hear it. So I'm gonna keep my earbuds on. Okay. You guys better be standing too, though. All right. Can you even see me? You can see that. Okay. All right, guys. Hopefully you're standing up too. You don't have to, but we're gonna do this just for symbolism. Because why the frick not? Who knew standing for the national anthem in 2020 would be a controversial thing, but it is. So let's go start a bunch of controversy and stand for the national anthem. Why not?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We weirdest thing I've ever done on stream, but also probably the best thing I've ever done on stream. There you go, guys. Ah! I cut myself. But yeah. That was epic, wasn't it? She did a good job. I shouldn't play her song without giving her credit, so here's who I was playing from. The covers by Genevieve, and here's her channel. And obviously go check her out. So yeah. But really, who Sergeant Armorillo said, I've just joined and I was so confused. So we were talking about the national anthem, and I was like, freak it. The NBA players won't do it. Why don't we just play the national anthem on stream and stand for the damn thing? I was like, that'd be freaking cool. My mom walked in. I had to explain what. That's funny. Hey, you actually stood for it. That's epic, though. Yeah. America, guys. We live in a great country. And some people just don't get it. Are my glasses crooked? Hold on. Let me see. Are they crooked? They look straight. Hold on. They're about straight. We live in a great country. No, I can't sing, okay? I would disgrace our country if I sung the national anthem. But we live in a great country, and it's the greatest country to ever exist. And a lot of morons just don't get it, you know? And it's funny, the people who bash America the most, they're never the people who, they're never the immigrants, if you notice this. The immigrants are always the people who are like, this country is great, you know? We came here for a reason. It's always the people who grew up. They don't just grow up in America. They grew up with the spoils of America. Okay, so they grew up in like a upper middle class household. You know, they love life. They have the easiest life as compared to other people around the world, and they're always the ones that are the most ungrateful. You know, because they're naive. It's like, you're naive. You grow up in prosperity, and you're told that everything is evil. But you don't know anything else except besides prosperity. It's like you don't know the world. It's freaking idiots. Vince would have pulled a Fergie. What happened with Fergie? I saw comments like this on the video too, and I don't understand. Like what? I don't remember that. What are you guys talking about? Like Fergie? Did she screw up? Did she screw up the national anthem? He must have screwed up the national anthem, right? But like I don't freaking know. I would do a terrible job of singing the national anthem though. Okay, let me tell you that. I can't sing to begin with. And the national anthem is one of the hardest songs to sing, like the notes. So it's like, oh my God, that'd be terrible. But I'm very glad we did that. We should make that like a tradition now. Guys, at the start of 3 hours, or start at 2 hours. Yeah, at the start of 2 hours on the show, we should like just do the national anthem. That'd be good. Yeah, do it every stream. We should do it every stream. Why don't we do it every stream? Can we watch Fauci pitch again? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Oh, wait, no. Did I get rid of it? No. Okay, I got rid of it on my thing. So, we got to go to my Instagram. All right. We'll do that. Instagram.com/TheVinceDow, who is shadow banned and stuck at 50. Am I at 59.3 already? Oh my God, the growth has been terrible today. Guys, I'm shadow banned. You guys gotta help me out here, okay? Please engage with my content. I'm shadow banned and it sucks. Okay. Anyways. What was I doing? Oh, I have the video of my pitching on here. Pitching. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now coming up to the plate to throw the opening pitches, Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's apparently lag. Top leading immunologist in this country. Although I gotta say, it's lagging. It's lagging. Let's just hope that this pitch is more accurate than his prediction. Dr. G pulls up with the pitcher's mound, and here we go. He steps back, winds up the throw. Oh, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? My gosh. So there you go. There's Fitchy. There's pitching again. All right, guys, keep asking your questions. We got like 10 minutes left here. As you can see, I'm kind of like tired today, so I'm just like, let's just get this over with. Not that I don't like streaming, but I'm kind of sleepy right now. But yeah, leave your questions in the chat, guys. We'll keep doing this. Or we could do something else, like go on Instagram or something. Let's see. We could follow Twitter news. Oh, Twitter! I can't stand Twitter. Twitter is just the most toxic freaking place. Like people on there are just the worst. Like you could say like a lot of people say TikTok is toxic and it is toxic, but people on Twitter are they're just the most revolting people. Like they just say the cruel. It's just so. It's so freaking toxic. I don't know why Lance is private on Twitter, but he actually got more likes than comments for once, which is good for him. Shout out to you, Lance. Okay, you didn't get ratioed for once. But anyways. Thank you, Elon, for telling us that aliens built the pyramids. All right. And human trafficking. First thing I see on my Twitter, great message, especially since we did an opening segment about Jeffrey Epstein and human trafficking, guys. It's an issue that no one really talks about, but it's probably one of the biggest issues in our country that we just never gets talked about. It's a shame. Mainly because a lot of human trafficking happens at the border and the left doesn't want to secure our borders. And I think that's the main reason, but it's a real problem in our country. Yeah, of course. They're trying to say Texas and Florida have disasters with the coronavirus. Okay, yeah, freaking okay. All right. But of course, New York was a big success, of course, as we all know. Yeah, it's just Twitter as usual. I don't know. I can't stand Twitter, guys. I just hate it. I hate Twitter so much. So I'm just going to snap out of it. Okay. Okay. Ethan says, how do I keep myself happy? I don't know. I'm happy with you. Like sometimes, like right now, I'm tired, so I'm just trying to get the stream done. But I'm the main way I keep myself happy, like being on social media, because it can be very toxic. I'm not always the best at. No one's perfect at it. Okay, sometimes we give in, but mainly it's just sort of you just have to ignore the toxicity, like drown it out. Like I don't always respond or really even look at my comments sometimes because it's just like, I used to get mad at people for blocking people. Like, dude, what about the free speech? But as I get bigger, I sort of realize it's like, oh my God, like it gets so toxic sometimes that it's just like, and not so much for me. Like I can handle it, but for a lot of people, it's like, it hurts your mental well-being, like your mental health, like when you just deal with all that toxicity. So the main reason is like, I try to get better. I keep myself sort of, I try to just ignore the toxicity, just keep going, keep doing myself. One thing I don't do, and I think a lot of kids have mental problems because, sadness, depression. I think this is one reason why is because they always listen to sad freaking music. Like they just listen to the most depressing. They listen to all this sad music. It's the old definition of simping. You know how we say when you're simping, you're it's like there's a guy or girl that you want, but you're not gonna get. We used to say simping meant like you just sit there and listen to sad music and feel like crap about yourself. Yeah. I don't know why people do that, but the bottom line is if I do that, I would collapse mentally because like I do all this toxicity all the time. If I let it get to me, it would totally like destroy me. And so when I listen to music, sometimes I just listen to music just to vibe and just, chill. But when I listen to, how sometimes people listen to music because they want to change their mood. For me, I only listen to music to make me feel like better about myself. Like that's it. So I actually have a playlist right here. I call it Alpha. I don't use the playlist, but I made it so that you guys could like see what music I listen to because sometimes people ask me. I listen to music that just makes me feel like kick ass. Like it's like make me feel cool, you know, like epic about myself. You know? Like I mean the first song in the playlist is All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled, and then you can see these songs. And they're just like kick ass songs, you know, it's like they're badass songs, and that's the type of music I listen to, you know, if I'm feeling it's just like if I need to lift my mood, and it helps a lot, you know. It's like it reminds myself like, oh yeah, you are that kick ass. It's epic. Oh, Obvious Human says, so you must live in Florida. All right, be safe. But I don't even know if I have to tell that to Floridians. Okay, Floridians are crazy. Okay, you guys like celebrate hurricanes. Like it's like yeah, America. Like it's like, I don't. But have be safe. Be safe. Okay, and you know don't be too Floridian. Okay, don't be such a Florida guy that you get hurt. Someone says, what are my favorites on the playlist? Good question. So, You're the Best by Joe I don't even know how to say his last name. Esposito. That's a song from Karate Kid. That's one of my favorites. Win by J-Rock. That's a song I listen to a lot. Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Till I Collapse, Eminem. Trophies by Young Money. Power by Kanye West. Most of the songs from Graduation. That's my favorite Kanye album. Most of the songs from Graduation. I would say, let me see, what are some other my favorites? Hood Gone Love It by J-Rock. That's the song from GTA. Okay. I listen to that. I like that song. Homecoming by Kanye West. Good Morning by Kanye West. Donald Trump by Mac. The one I play by Mac Miller is the one that I always make memes of. But also the song Donald Trump by Upchurch. Trump is just a vibe. Okay, Trump is just a vibe. All right, like he's just looking at him throughout his life. Like he's the ultimate alpha. Okay, and sometimes songs about him are usually pretty cool. And then Back in Black, and there you go. Those are my favorite songs. Maga Season, yes. Maga Season is not my playlist because most of my songs are sort of non-political, but Maga Season's go check out Maga Season. Okay, I do have it on my phone. I listen to that a lot too. I'm a gun-toting patriot, God-fearing patriot. Yeah. My Instagram icon, it's a guy holding. What are you talking about? What is he talking about? What? What is he talking? What are you talking? What? It's me holding a parrot. What do you mean? What? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. Okay. Anyways, guys, we're almost done here tonight. Oh, I'm gonna sleep so well tonight. But anyways, ask me some more questions. We'll do a few more. We'll just keep doing questions until we run out of questions. So yeah. Hope you're safe if you're in a hurricane, my friend. But yeah. Uh, 3-hour gang. It's actually not 3-hour gang yet because we started the stream at like 7:02. So don't comment to I'll tell you when to comment. Then I'm watching like when the stream hits 3 hours, and I know how long it's gonna be. Okay. But yeah. Call my playlist Alpha Songs Only. I could do that. Alpha Songs Only. I gotta make my last TikTok before it gets banned, and I'm gonna delete the app.
Someone asked me.
Common app is now open. Yeah, I know. I've started looking at it, working on it. Okay, any questions, you guys? I will send the Discord the Alpha Energy playlist. I will do that. What do I think? So someone's saying, what do I think of InfoWars? Well, I can't formally, like, I guess, share their videos. It's weird. I can't, like, formally share their videos for some reason because it's like everyone at InfoWars is blacklisted. Now, I honestly don't know enough about them. Like, I know, like, I know what the people say about them. I don't know enough about them personally to cast judgment on, like, what's actually their deal. So I don't know. I don't really watch them. I don't really like care for them that much. But also, I'm not the person who rushes to condemn them either. It's just, I don't. They do their thing. Okay. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is 3 hours. So, ladies and gentlemen, comment hashtag 3 hour gang in the chat. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. How do I join the Discord? I believe Chevy's in the chat. Chevy, please send me a link to the Discord, my moderator boys. Okay. So, shout out to Danielle, shout out to Alex, shout out to Ravgov, shout out to Josie or Hosey. I don't never say her name right. Shout out to Alex, shout out to Claire, shout out to no, that's not one of them. Shout out to James, shout out to Isabella, shout out to Chevy, shout out to Kayla, shout out to Ragov, shout out to Tasha, shout out to Bobcast, shout out to Ethan, shout out to William. You guys are all awesome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take like one or two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up tonight. All right. That's the link for the for this Discord. I'll take one more question. Okay, last question here, guys. Drop it. All right. If multiple people drop it at once, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna choose, I guess. These are our last hours on TikTok, guys. Okay, because I'm gonna delete it soon. I'll make one last video and then I'll delete it. I submit a form to get involved. They're gonna email you. Okay. Dude, me in 2040 with record. Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, if you guys want like personalized videos or shout outs or personalized videos for me, like I made one for Alex saying that he's gonna be my cabinet member. You can request a cameo from me. It's only $5. And it goes to, you know, my work. It supports my work because I don't have like monetization or any type of network or anything. Like legit, I don't even make money off of this crap. But you can request a cameo from me. If you want me to say like you can be the imperial governor of Texas in the Vince Dow Empire, or you will be my running mate, whatever you want. I mean, there's some things like you can't get me to say literally anything. There's some, but if you want me to request some personalized message like that, you can request a cameo from me, cameo.com/thevincedow. Okay. What is my opinion? I look tired, go to sleep. Yeah. Okay, I'll do what I want. Okay, what is my opinion on masks? So I'm gonna piss off both the conservatives and the liberals when I say this, but I think you should wear a mask. You should follow the rules of the establishment. Okay, so people who, it actually sort of pisses me off when some people like they know that the store requires masks and they purposely go in without a mask. Like, first of all, you're just trying to start trouble. Second of all, it's the business rule. But thirdly, usually, at least here in LA, that's the business's rule because that's the county's rule. And like what you're doing by not wearing a mask is you could get that business owner in trouble from the health inspector for not wearing a mask. So I think you should follow the rules of the establishment. In terms of, do I think masks work? So a lot of liberals have this misconception that masks keep you safe from coronavirus. That's not true. Here's a mask right here. You see this cloth? The particles that viruses travel on are smaller than this cloth, smaller than the pores in this cloth. So they will travel right through. You have this on your face? The virus goes right through. It enters you. The point of masks is that the theory is this is only if COVID-19 spreads through your respiratory droplets, which we don't even know, but we suspect it makes sense. So we don't even know that, okay? But we suspect it makes sense. Okay. So if they spread through your respiratory droplets, when you cough, sneeze, the theory is the mask will trap some of that. And definitely not that nothing will get through, because a hell of a lot will get through. But the theory is you can reduce the rate at which people spread the virus by wearing these masks. Okay? And so I've seen a demonstration basically done where it's like they test how many respiratory droplets get through the mask, and there's evidence to suggest that they help. They help. They don't fix it. They don't magically make Black Lives Matter because they help. Now, at the end of the day, I recommend I recommend following the rules of the business, right? I recommend following the rules of a business. I don't recommend being incessant about masks, like harassing, like, oh my God, that person's not wearing a mask. They are evil. No, they're not evil. They're not evil. As a matter of fact, it's very likely that they're making you, in a sense, unsafe, right? They're not evil, but no. Like, stop being. I can't stand people who harass others for not wearing a mask. Like, at the end of the day, like, okay, just chill. Just chill. Yes, they do help. Yes, I think you should wear one in certain social gatherings, although I don't like, they're also uncomfortable. Like, I see why people don't like. Hell, I don't like wearing. I hate wearing them. Okay, they help. If I go to a store or a restaurant or whatever where I'm supposed to wear it, they help. But at the end of the day, this idea that they're really helping that much, that they're keeping everyone magically safe, no, it's not true. It's not true. People that wear masks in their cars are stupid. Okay. So there you go. There you go. That's the end of the day. All right. I think, like, yeah, masks help. All right. They probably help. I should say they probably help because we don't know if COVID-19 spreads through respiratory droplets. If they spread through just particles and not droplets, then that mask is not doing anything because the particles you breathe in and out go right through that mask. It's the liquid that you're catching. Like when you cough, sneeze, you're catching the droplets. Okay. But we still do not have solid proof that COVID-19 spreads through respiratory droplets. Right? We're not entirely sure about that. So in that sense, masks are unproven. But the theory, I guess they can't really hurt that much. At least if you don't wear them all the freaking time, right? You shouldn't, like, I see some people wear masks in their houses, in their cars. What morons. What idiots, okay? But they help. You should wear one if you're going into a store. That's all I think, right? I'm not gonna. If I see someone not wearing one, I don't think, oh my God, grandma kill her. No, like, it's okay. What's the big deal? But I guess in theory, you could slow the spread of the virus if everyone sort of got together and wore masks. But it's whatever. I think at the end of the day, if you want to stop the spread of the virus, it's about social distancing. That's what stops the spread. I mean, you might reduce a little bit with these masks, but you're not saving. Nobody's immune because they have masks around them. So yeah, that's my thoughts on masks. Vince come out with a Vince. I have a Vince Down mask. I have right here. Hold on. teespring.com/Vince Down. I have one. Wait for this to load a little bit. People pass out when warm up. Yeah, you should not be working out with a mask on. And actually, some people do it so that see, some people, you might remember this, like back in a few years ago, there's this trend where you wear like these workout masks. The idea is you reduce your air so that it strengthens your lungs, strengthens your cardio, right? But if you're going to work out with them, wear one of those masks, right? But I don't think working out with a mask is stupid to begin with. The thing is, with super thick masks, the thing is that a lot of people think like, oh, when your oxygen is getting cut off, you slowly feel yourself passing out. But that's actually not true. Scientifically, medically speaking, you don't really feel anything, and then suddenly you black out. And that's very dangerous, right? You don't want to black out, but that's especially working out. But that's the thing. When you're losing oxygen, you don't really feel it. You just black out very suddenly, right? Like if you black, it's not like you gradually feel yourself you black out, and it's very dangerous to work out with masks. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Okay, I have this mask at the Teespring.com. The link is in my description, but teespring.com/stores/Vince Now. We do have a Vince Now mask, I believe. Now I will make more, but we do have a Vince Now mask, I believe. Let me see. Wait for this to load. Wait for this to load. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. It's taking forever to load, but we do have a Vince style mask right here. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a Vince style mask on my merch shop. It is a Vince style 2040 mask. We'll make some other type of Vince style mask, but there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is 3 hours. Thank you very much for tuning in to tonight's epic time. Hopefully, I'll not so sleep next week. Sleep Vince style this week. Still feel like we did a pretty good job, but maybe next week's. Anyways, see you guys next week's stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. Well, we'll see about next week's stream, because we'll see about my wisdom teeth and stuff like that. If I'm a total chipmunk, then either I don't know. What do you guys want? I could check this after. What do you guys want? Do you guys want me to do? You guys want me to have someone fill in the stream for me, right? Like I have a bunch of people. Someone could host the show for me, and I could tell them what I'm saying. But I could do that, or I could just do like a very short compilation of like some highlights and then celebrate my anniversary for next week's episode. So let me know. I'm leaning more the direction. I either have Chandler Crump or my friend Anish, who wants to start getting into political commentary, and give him a chance and let them host the show if that's the case. But if not, we'll see. We'll see anyways. But yeah, see you guys next week. We'll see you guys when I see you guys. Stay tuned about next week's show. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Why did I say? I will see you guys TBA. Okay, but definitely tweet, but TBA. But yeah, I'll see you guys. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Good night, guys. God bless America. God bless you too.